Done? Okay. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the sixth day of GAN course on next gen supply chains, harnessing IoT, digital twins, and AI driven simulations. I hope you all have been enjoying this course. Yesterday, we talked about some of the case studies and how we could solve those case studies using optimization and simulation techniques. So basically, we developed the model in any logistics network optimization scenario. We did couple of analysis there. Inventory policy, we looked at the impact of the transportation policies, and then we also converted that model into the simulation, and we did a couple of further analysis there on that model. So in today's session, we are going to talk about the supply chain risk management, because we are talking about next gen supply chains, and today's supply chain is volatile, dynamic, global, interconnected, and long, and that's why we face many uncertain or unexpected events from the from different ends of the supply chain. Okay, so that's why there is a huge demand, or there is a dire need to analyze these unexpected events that may come in the future, and when these events they occur, they will disrupt your supply chains. All these three flows that we are talking about, so when these events they come, they will affect your those material flow, information flow, cash flows. Okay, so we are going to talk about what are the some of the important risky events in supply chains, how do you analyze those risky events, and then how do you propose some mitigation strategies. So that we are going to talk about in today's session. I hope you will enjoy this session. Yeah, so before we jump into our main content, so let's start with the this session with some your pre-session knowledge about this topic, risk management, and I have got some very interesting questions here. Okay, so we will see basically we will see what was your experience during that time. Okay, so let me go to the Menti. Okay. Supply chain risk management, and the purpose of this activity is to get to know how much does you know about the risk management in supply chains. So this is a joining QR code. You can scan this QR code, or you can go to the menti.com, use that code 17997693. Okay, has everybody scanned the code? Done? Shall I move? First question, what do you already know about the risk that we are going to find out through this Menti quiz? There are no right or wrong answer, just write the first thing that comes to your mind, and this is again anonymous quiz. Just wanted to know what you have experienced during that time. Okay, did you experience stockouts during the COVID-19 pandemic? If so, what products were affected, and why do you believe those products were out of stock? Because the topic of today's session is risk management, and the recent event, if you look at COVID-19, was the major event that happened into. So during COVID-19 means during the lockdown, first lockdown, second lockdown, third lockdown, what experience did you experience any stockouts during the COVID-19 pandemic? Yes, then what are those products? Okay, food, some functional products, vaccine, perishable products, medical equipment, needles. Okay, non-veg, yeah, non-veg, basically this was the essential products, all the food products and all those things. Medical, some functional products, oxygen cylinders, yeah, that's true. N95 masks, again medical devices, medical equipments, and then essential products, food related packed products like pasta, some jam and other stuff, sanitizers, yeah, soaps. Okay, so I think we have around 20 students here. Am I right? 5 plus 10. Okay, so I can see 13 students have responded to it. Okay, yeah, so these are the some of the the key products that were out of stock during the COVID-19 pandemic, during the first, second, or third lockdowns. Can you define the lean supply chain now, and what are the some key characteristics of lean supply chain? Have you heard this term, lean supply chain? What is it? What, I don't want in standard definition. Whatever comes to your mind when you hear this term, lean supply chain. What does it mean? Or what are the some key characteristics of lean supply chain? Minimizing waste, minimization of waste. Okay, easy going, flexible with the process, supplier to customer, not complicated. JIT, yeah, what is JIT? Just in time. Flexible supply chain, agile supply chain, faster production, minimize cost, then again agility and responsiveness. Yes, so these are the some of the characteristics you could say on the lean supply chain. Lean supply chain helps to reduce or remove the non-value added activities. What are the some non-value added activities or bottlenecks in your supply chain? You can call it as a waste as well. Minimizing the waste. Minimizing the waste means, suppose you are doing overproduction, over transportation, you are keeping the unnecessary additional stock in your warehouse. So those are the the problems behind your supply chain inefficiency. So lean supply chain try to reduce those non value added activities which are not adding any value into your product or into your supply chain. So that's your lean supply chain. Okay, so you try to, then how do you focus on that lean supply chain? You try to keep only limited suppliers, you try to keep only optimal inventory in your warehouse, those kind of thing. So there was another very interesting term came during this COVID-19, similar to just in time. So what are the problems of just in time or lean supply chain? Tell me. So you define the characteristics. Can you tell me some problems of this JIT or lean supply chain? What could happen, suppose if you are following the JIT? What problems you may face? Responsiveness will be decreased. Okay. Stockouts. Why would face the stockouts? Yeah, because we are keeping only the optimal inventory. JIT lean is not good for the unexpected events. Okay, suppose if you have suddenly demand came from your supplier, you cannot satisfy that demand. Why? Because you are keeping only the optimal inventory, minimal inventory. You are trying to reduce the cost there. You don't want to keep additional inventory, you don't want to keep the you don't want to do the overproduction, over transportation, over inventory. So that's why JIT will work normally fine in which situation? If everything is going smoothly, there is no problem supplier side, there is no problem demand side, your factories are working fine, everything in ideal situation, everything is going well. So during that time you can go with the JIT. But there was another term came during the COVID-19, it called just in case. Have you heard this term, just in case? Just in case means when you experience these kind of unexpected events, you need to keep the additional stock. Just in case means just in case if you face any unexpected events, then you should have the additional stock, you should have the additional vehicles, you should have the additional resources to manage those unexpected events. So that's why whatever the companies, they were following the just in time during COVID-19, because they did not have any backup supplier, they did not have any additional stock, and those companies then they experienced the some problems from supply side, demand side. So that's why then during COVID-19 everybody was talking about just in case. Just in case means suppose when you experience these kind of unexpected events, you buy whatever products available from supplier, keep additional stock, keep additional inventory, and do that flexibility. So that's the purpose of just in case. What limitation in the toilet paper supply chain caused shortages or slowed recovery? Toilet paper was that not that much was popular in India, but if you look at the Western countries, this was one of the major products affected, which was significantly affected because of COVID-19. Okay, so could you identify some limitations in this toilet paper supply chain? What caused the shortages? What are the some reasons behind that? Or in your case, suppose you experienced the shortages of some sanitizers or whatever products you experienced the stockouts, what could be the some of the reasons behind those stockouts? Not only toilet paper but any, because why I selected the toilet paper, because everybody in most of the countries they experienced the shortages of this product. EOQ not able to keep up, people boarded toilet papers production stopped because of COVID restrictions. Oh yeah, that was one of the reason. Sudden and uncertain demand. So look at these answers, guys. From where the problems are coming, you can identify. Production stopped because of COVID-19 restrictions, means there is a problem at your factory side. Sudden and uncertain demand means there is a problem from your customer end. Sudden spike in demand, again customer end, COVID-19. Limited supplier, now the problem started coming from your supplier end. Demand is not constant. Supply chain disruption due to lockdown. Again, lockdown means factories they can't run their factories with the full capacity. Why? Because there was restrictions to keep the minimum 3-meter distance. So majority of the factories, what were they doing? They were running their factories with the 50% whatever the capacity they had. So that was the reason. Production uncertainty. Production is rapid but consumption limited or uncertain. So basically some of the limitations when you say, again, why do we call the COVID-19 as a unique risky event, or it is also called as black swan event? Do you know black swan events? Have you heard this term, black swan? Yesterday we talked about operational risk and disruption risks. Operational risk, regular risk come into your supply chain, like delivery delays, high frequency but low impact. And then disruption risk means low frequency, high impacts. What is this black swan event? Black swan events means this is a uncommon events, normally don't occur, but when it occurs, it will totally spoil or damage your organization or your basically the supply chain. Okay, some of the black swan events you could say means major events, COVID-19, after that 9/11 attack, Great Recession happened in the 2007. So those are the events, you call it them as a black swan events. So in black swan events, you cannot find out the probability because you don't have any information and you cannot predict the impact as well. In normal cases, at least based on your historical demand, based on your historical history, you try to find out some information about the probability of occurrence of that event, or with the help of some other information you try to get some information about impact. But in black swan like COVID, nobody predicted what could happen. Okay, 9/11 attack, Great Recession, those kind of the things, when they occur, they will economy, everything they will affect significantly. So those are the basically some of the black swan events. So again, what I was trying to say, why COVID-19 was a unique event, because if you join any company, suppose for example after your degree, and when you work as a procurement manager, logistics manager, whatever it may be, so normally you see the problem from one end side. Okay, so there might be problem from supplier side. One of the suppliers stopped supplying the products, or demand may go up. Okay, or there might be some breakdown in your factory. But one event at a time, not all events are coming simultaneously, and that's why when these events come simultaneously, it is very difficult to manage them. And same thing happened during COVID-19. There was a problem, panic buying and demand spike was there. People were buying huge amount of toilet paper, these the essential goods. Then when factories they tried to make the more productions, but they had a problem with this lockdown restrictions. Machineries were very expensive, they couldn't get the machineries, and the suppliers, they were also affected because they couldn't get the products from the, their tier 2 supplier, tier 3 suppliers. If you take the toilet paper, the raw material, we need wood, okay. So but there was not huge demand for the non in other sector like construction sectors and other sectors. So that's why the suppliers who were supplying the wood, they also couldn't supply the good amount of raw material to the paper manufacturer, okay. So basically from each and every end during the COVID-19, companies experience the problems from supplier side, customer end, from factory, from during the logistics, the movements, all those things. That's why we call it as a unique kind of disruption or unique kind of a risks. How can a company make its supply chain more efficient? How does a how does a company increase its utilization? How can make your supply chain more efficient? Using responsive tracking system, RFID or IoT, yeah. Through RFID and IoT, you will get to know exact demand, exact supply, stock available at different warehouses. R&D forecasting by keeping economies of scale. What is economies of scale, guys? What is economies of scale? You are saying? Yes. So when you make the huge number of products, the product per unit cost will go down. That is your economies of scale. Fast decision making from transparent information by optimizing networks, better inventory plans, predictive analytics, cross docking using IoT, last mile, yeah, reduction of wastage during the supply chain, removing non-value added activities, minimize the unwanted work. Yeah, unwanted work means non-value added activities. So for example, during the this toilet paper, if you take the example of, in toilet paper, the if you look at their supply chain, they have got the manufacturer, distributor, retailer, and all those things. One of the things you could do to minimize the lead time, what could you do? Tell me. Suppose if you want to minimize the lead time, you have got manufacturer, distributor, retailer, customer. You can bypass that distributor or retailers. You don't need to send distributors and retailers. From manufacturers, products should go directly to the retailers, customers. So that's where you can then remove those unnecessary, the distributors, retailers, and you can reduce the lead time. Reducing the waste and then handling uncertainty. Third and fourth party logistics provider, yeah, again very important, because sometimes if you are expertise in one area and if you are also looking at the third party or fourth party logistics, it will be very difficult to manage that one. So whenever you have this third party or fourth party logistics providers, they will manage your logistics. More supplier versatility of product by increasing the trust within the involving person. So yeah, these are some of the ways you can improve your efficiency. But another point I would like to highlight here: when you bought the sanitizers or whatever products, did you have so many versions in that product, or did you have only simple kind of basic version during COVID-19? Basic stuff, basic. Suppose if you are buying, suppose I am buying the hand sanitizer, did we have the so many options there left, or only one basic stuff was there? Options were there. What are the problems? Suppose you are making 4 5 types of products, and if you are making in one factory only one type of products, what is the difference, or which is beneficial during these kind of events? What is more beneficial? Okay, from which point, for whom it is beneficial? Customers point of view. Okay, anyone? Hmm. Hmm. Demand was huge, okay. People, they were so they wanted, so whatever basic products, whatever it is available, they wanted those products. What is the problem with the multiple products? If you are making the different versions of single product, what is the problem? There is a problem with those that scenario. What is that problem? That's the one. If you are making the different kind of products in the same factory, you need to change the machineries, you need to make the some additional the changes, so that changeover time is there. And if you are doing that changeover, it means that you are unnecessarily wasting the time. There is a huge demand, people are dying there. And why you are making so many different products? Because when you make the simple product, the people will take those products and they will do their job whatever they want to do. That's why, during this, how does a company increase utilization when you experience these kind of huge demands from customers? So many companies you might have heard, like automotive companies or some, they started making these the medical devices during these COVID-19 times. And that's why if you look at any pasta, any essential products, there were not so many versions of those products, only basic stuff. If you look at hand sanitizer, only one version is available, not so many different versions are available. So that's another benefit. And when you want to increase the utilization, you should delete these non value added activities, unnecessary. Don't make different kinds of product. If there is a no demand, then you can make the products, but there is a huge demand, people are buying at any cost, at any level, so there is no need to make it unnecessary complicated. What affects the first and last link in your supply chain? First link means supplier, last link is your end users, customer. What does it affect? As a customers, where, what were the reasons behind your panic buying or shortages? Or as a supplier, what problems you encounter during that lockdown and border closures? Cost, lead time. So cost, is it for the end users or is it for the supplier? End users. Lead time, sudden change in demand and sudden supply transportation. Suppose during COVID, during normal time, suppose I am keeping a safety stock at one toilet roll additional or whatever the pack in my house. And during COVID-19, what happened when lockdown and border closures were imposed? People, they started doing this panic buying. What? Why? Because people thought that we may not get the products in the future if you don't keep the additional stock. So everybody, whoever was keeping the suppose stock of one toilet paper, whatever pack was there, they started keeping additional 2-3 packs into their houses. Why? So because of this shortages and all the news came. Cost is another term. So suppose don't consider the COVID-19 scenario. Suppose normal situation. Suppose now you want to buy something from nearby grocery store. What kind of factors? Suppose you want to only one cold drink bottle there. Okay, but you go there. Tell me what factors does affect your buying decision? You want to buy only one product, but you go there and you bought 2-3 bottles of cold drinks. Why? What is the reason? No, variety, that is whatever it may, but your goal was you want to buy only one cold drink bottle. But why you bought 3 bottles? Shortage will happen, that is one reason. What other reasons are there? Discount, buy one get one free. Okay, those kind of things. So there are so many reasons. Like cost, suppose I go there and I see there is a buy one get one free. I wanted to one bottle, but because of that buy one get one, I bought another one. Same thing happened here as well. Cost was there, lead time was there, because if suppose I know there is a huge lead time involved in this process, I may not get the product tomorrow, I can keep additional stock. Product shortages, again, bullwhip effect. What is bullwhip effect? Somebody mentioned. Okay, interesting stuff. Yeah. Not forecasting accurately. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, those are the reasons behind. Okay, you are saying forecasting error. You are keeping additional stock for the future shortage. Yeah, go on. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. That. Why is there incorrect information? Hmm. Hmm. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Mm. That's Mhm. Okay, that's the correct one. Yeah. So, what are the some impacts of this bullwhip effect? What happens? Unnecessary inventory. What else? Carrying cost. Profit goes down. Yes, because you are unnecessarily paying that inventory cost. What about logistics cost? Does it involve anything? What do you think? Logistics cost will reduce. How come logistics cost will reduce? Basically, at each member is doing extra activity. They are keeping extra inventory. When distributor is keeping extra inventory, it means that they are transferring extra inventory, extra products to the retailer. So logistics cost will also go up. Okay, again, simple example, you already rightly answered the question. So just with the simple example, suppose he is a customer and he wants suppose 10 products. I am a retailer. He came to me, he asked me, can you deliver me the 10 products tomorrow? I take that order, but in addition to that, I have got additional customers, and sometimes when I place the big orders to my distributor, that distributor will give me the discount. That is the another reason. I have my own forecast as well. Sometimes we do the the seasonal forecasting, all those things. So the exact order is only 10 products, but how much I order, I place the order of 30 to 40 products to the distributor does the same thing. Distributor has got the multiple retailers, they have their own forecasting and then other things, because of these discounts, all those things, because of lead time. So distributor will place an order of say 100 products to the manufacturer will make 500 products. What was the exact demand? 10 products. How many products they made? 500 products. And then those additional products will unnecessarily go to the distributor, retailer, and all those things. So that's the problem with the bullwhip effect. How then we can solve this problem? That's the topic of our GAN course, IoT. That's why when you have the IoT devices, when you scan something, suppose you are at the retailer, when you scan something, it will directly send the information that the stock at this retailer, it got reduced by 50%, 10%, and accordingly distribution center then will make the the replenishment decision. That's the use of these IoT devices, RFID, all the when the basically when problem comes, all these three flow, material flow, information flow, and your cash flow, when there are some problems or unexpected events happening and these three flows are affecting, it means that your supply chain is not running properly. Suppose when border closures, material was not going from one end to another, material disruption. Okay, so physical kind of risk, material risk, you can say. Tell me the example of cash flow, or how does the cash flow come into the your supply chain? Customer, yeah, it goes from customer to, but what kind of problems we face, in which cases your cash flow will be affected? There is no transparency. Okay. So, sometimes suppose now everybody is using this Google Pay, Phone Pay, and all those things. Sometimes you face the problems. Okay, server is down or something, you cannot do the payment to your retailer customer. So those kind of the events, when you experience these kind of events, it will affect the cash flow as well. Okay, so bullwhip effect is that one. There is another very famous term, it is called a ripple effect. Have you heard this term, ripple effect? Similar to bullwhip effect. Bullwhip effect, it occurs basically because of your operational risks. Because demand variation, we are talking about amplification of demand from downstream end to the upstream end. Because of demand variation, bullwhip effect occurs, and demand variation is operational risk. Why is it operational risk? Because it occurs regularly, but it doesn't significantly affect your supply chain. That's why it is called as operational risk. But there is another effect, it is called ripple effect, and it occurs because of your disruption risk. What happened during COVID-19 when initially China imposed the border closures and lockdowns? Am I right? After that, what happened? Who faced the shortages and the backlogs? Western countries. Why they face the manufacturers from, but when did they face? Do you think that they immediately faced as soon as China imposed the lockdown and border closure on first day? Do you think that on the next day they faced the shortages? Inventory, safety stock inventory. So suppose today the China imposed the border and lockdowns. After 10 days your manufacturer experienced the problems. When manufacturer experiences the problems, what will be who will be the next element component? Distributor. So after 10 days, suppose after 10 days manufacturer affected, after 15 days your distributor affected, after 20 days your retailer affected, and after 1 month your customer affected. So that's called the ripple effect. Event occurs at one point in your supply chain, and the impact of that event, it transfers to the other members of supply chain, and after some time whole supply chain will be collapsed or affected. That's called ripple effect. How did personal consumer behavior reorder points change during the pandemic? How did personal consumer behavior? Why did you do the panic buying? What were the reasons behind that? Or suppose, as I gave the example of this toilet paper. Suppose before COVID you used to keep the stock of one pack of that toilet paper, but during lockdown and border closures you started keeping additional stock. Why? Unavailability of products, shortages, lead time, inventory shortage fear, products low cost that may increase after some time. Yes, those are the couple of reasons, because sometimes when huge demand is there and supply is low, so obviously prices will go up. Sorry, thought of running out of stock, made in India, increase in demand, don't depend on a single supplier. Okay, why were manufacturers and retailers slow to react to supply shortages? What were the reasons behind? Because they knew there was a huge demand from customer side. Then why they didn't make the why they didn't ramp up their production and their storage capacity? What were the reasons behind their slow response? Supply was not up to the mark. Yeah, they depend on suppliers, and supplier also couldn't supply the products. High investment cost. Yeah, that is again very important reason, because suppose you are running the factory with 5 machines and suddenly demand come up, you cannot add additional 5 machines in 1 day, 2 days. It needs huge amount of investment to buy that product. I will tell you one example. During that again Boeing 787 company Dreamliner case study, when Boeing 787 they experienced some delays from their supplier, and the Boeing's employees they did the strike. In 2005 when they outsourced the products from the supplier. So when the Boeing some suppliers, when they realized that Boeing's employees they are doing the strikes. Okay, so they thought that we don't need so many employees here. One of the suppliers of Boeing. Why? They thought that our main manufacturer they are facing some strikes employees, so they don't need the products on time. What we do with these so many employees? They basically laid off some of their employees. And then when Boeing wanted the products, they did not have the sufficient capacity. So basically because of the main OEMs or manufacturers, these suppliers they change their decisions due to globalization, disruption in supply chain because of investment. Yeah. What short-term actions did manufacturer and retailers take to address shortages? Did you experience any actions taken by the manufacturers and retailer to deal with this panic buying and shortages? One of the actions you could say, manufacturers they were making the only basic products. They were not making the so many versions of those products. But what about retailers? Did you notice anything from retailer? I noticed something because I had a problem. So I noticed safety stock, ramp up production, more focus on local distributors, yeah, local suppliers, demand prediction, online platforms adoption. But there was something I am looking. Happy hours concept. What is this happy hours concept? I don't know basically. I knew something related to this hours, but I don't know happy hours. Who? More discount. Really? Happy hours. I don't know. Did you experience this kind of things in India? Because I was not aware. Okay. Basic product, retailer safety stock, consumer needs, local supply they buy from somewhere, buying large quantities from supplier, uh, keeping sanitizers and masks. I am looking for one specific answer. Retailers, they kept the cap on how many products you can buy. Have you had this experience here? Like when I was in UK, I could not buy more. If I want to buy the suppose sanitizer, if I visit the retailer, it was allowed only to buy only one sanitizer per customer. Okay, so I don't know those kind of actions retailers have taken so that those products will be available everybody. So that was the reactions. And then happy hours, there was another concept in western countries. The evening times they had kept for the vulnerable elderly people. 2 hours slot was there. During that time only the elderly and vulnerable people could visit the grocery store and they can only buy. Okay, and rest of the time normal people can go and buy those products. Those are the some of the actions taken by the manufacturers and retailers. Name companies that experienced the positive outcomes during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many companies they experienced the losses, billions of losses, but there are some companies who experienced the benefits. Healthcare sector, pharmaceuticals, yes, go on. Surgical, okay, teeth, sorry, technology, food sector, essential goods, yes, medical company, sanitizer, mask, yes, serum, the vaccine producers, they made huge billions of pounds USD during that time. Okay, so another one example I can give you. So all pharmaceuticals are fine, but I think on first day I have shown you about one video of Ocado, online grocery retailer. So that grocery retailer Ocado, you can Google it as well. That is a very small player in the UK market. And why? Because it has only the online presence. They don't have any physical store where you can go and buy the products. And their additional technology is the robot technology, where they manage their warehouses with the robots. So during before COVID-19, because it is a small player, so that company used to take the orders from say a 500,000 customers or something like that, 500,000 or 200,000 customers. They have fixed base because they did not they have got only couple of warehouses, big warehouses in the UK, and they were taking only online orders and supplying the products. But as soon as UK government imposed the lockdowns, everybody moved to the online shopping. Nobody wanted to go outside because of this scare of catching the virus. And Tesco, Asda, there are some other grocery retailers, so they experienced some huge demand. But most of the people, they went to this Ocado. Why? Because Ocado was famous for the online delivery, and at one point there were 1 million people waiting to sign up their website, and their website was crashed. Okay, they never experienced such huge demand from the customers during that time. And after that they started building the new warehouse as well, and their profits significantly increased during that time. So this is just one example of how some companies can increase their profits when they face this kind of unexpected events. And if you look at the automotive, some constructions or non-essential companies, they experienced the huge losses because of these events. What do you know about the risk? Right, three things that come to your mind, because topic of today's session is risk management, supply chain risk management, and how we could manage the risk using the IoT, digital twin, or simulations. Solution, measurable quantity. Okay, when do you hear this term risk, what do you think? Okay, uncertainty, measurable term, variance. I am looking for some specific answer. Disruption, risk, time depends, uncertainty, risk mitigation, variance. Okay, I give to, okay, potential financial loss. Okay, potential financial loss. Do you think that we every time we experience the loss because of this risk, or do you think that we can get some profit as well because of risk. When do you experience the when do you get the profit? Intentionally artificially creating that one. But do you think that during COVID-19 Ocado did they do something like that? No, they didn't do anything. Hmm. Close. Huge profit. So basically it depends on your approach. Okay, if you take the proactive approach, suppose during COVID-19 some companies they did not have, like what you said, they did not have any online presence, they had only the the physical stores. But as soon as they learned some these online platforms, they converted their online physical store in online deliveries, and after that they made huge profits. Okay, but if you don't take that proactive approach, proactive action, you may experience the loss. So that's the reason. So when as a human tendency, when you hear this term risk, first thing comes in your mind, risk means loss, don't go with that one. Okay, but if you take some proactive action, then you can convert that risk as an opportunity, and then you can make the huge profit from that one. Okay, so this is fine. What are the some notable risky events happen in the recent times? Notable recent risky events that affected your supply chain or a majority of the companies. First thing is obviously COVID-19. What else? I told you couple of events, I think in last 2-3 sessions. Ukraine Russia war, for forest fire in Australia. Okay, there was another fire recently, which Los Angeles, LA. Recession, Suez Canal, world wars, traffic change, sorry, tariff changes. Basically, the what US government is doing currently at the moment. 9/11. Okay, yes, these are some of the Red Sea crisis you already mentioned. Suez Canal blockage is this different. Suez Canal, when that Evergreen ship was stuck, but the recent attacks on the cargo ships in the Red Sea crisis. So that is another the major event. Okay. So that's it for free selection knowledge. Now let's move to our main slide desk. So what we are going to do now, basically we are trying to see the some risk scenarios in supply chain and operations management. We are going to learn how we can use simulation technique or optimization technique to solve these risky events in supply chains or to address them, simulate disruption and evaluate recovery strategy. This is really important. Okay, yesterday or day before yesterday you were asking, suppose your supply chain is working fine, okay, and now this COVID-19 started, and because of this COVID-19 one of your suppliers stops supplying you the products. What would you do now? You go with the backup supplier, you have that response strategy. But first thing what you will do, you will try to optimize your network, your supply chain with the whatever the given number of suppliers are there. So basically out of those 3-4 suppliers, one supplier you remove, and you try to manage your supply chain with the available suppliers. Okay, or sometime if you want to add the additional distribution center, you can add the additional distribution center, and then you run the model basically. So those kind of what if scenarios you could simulate in the simulation, and then you can make the data driven decisions, optimize decision making, explore practical application in global logistics networks. So journey of a t-shirt, this is again very interesting video. So let me play it. So what you want to do, basically we want to watch these videos and we want to answer what does the company want to achieve in this supply chain, what are the key decisions that have to be taken, and where is the presence of risk in this supply chain. Let me see if it works. Do you know who are the manufacturers of clothing or any t-shirt or any, do you know, any idea? I don't know, do you have the mm, so it's working. What happened? I'm just trying to video. Yes. It's still loading. No worries. If it is problematic, then I can just. I have the links already. It's still rotating. Don't worry. Yeah, I will manage. Okay, I think, sorry guys, the video is not working. So I have already added the links here, so you can watch. So basically, in these videos they have discussed the supply chain of T-shirt. Okay, so basically in the first video, they have given the little bit idea about the whole supply chain. Then next one, the suppliers. So currently US is the major producer or exporter of the cotton, and the raw cotton they send to the Bangladesh. Okay, so if you, I don't know, here we find made in India and all those the cloths here, but if you go to the western countries, US, UK, Europe, any brand, M&S, Zara, whatever the brand you pick up, and just see made in Bangladesh, made in Colombia, all those things. Okay, so in the second video they have discussed the factories in Bangladesh, basically how they convert that raw material into yarn, fabric, those things, and after that they make the male's t-shirt in Bangladesh, and then the female's t-shirt in Cambodia, another developing countries, and after that they transfer these t-shirts again back to the US for printing and all those things. So what does the company want to achieve with this supply chain? Any idea? What do you think? Why they move the goods, raw cotton from the US to Bangladesh? Why don't they make their t-shirts? Labor cost. Okay, and when you transfer this one, you need to obtain the efficiency, supply chain efficiency, because if you look at the whole that t-shirts, it will, the price of the t-shirts, it could be around 12 USD or 13 USD. Okay, so all those basically from US to Bangladesh, the sea freight is there again, then internally they do the road freight transportation, and again going back they use the sea freight. So road freight, sea freight, these kind of modes of transportations are involved. Third party logistics providers are there, fourth party logistics providers, suppliers are there, then manufacturers are there. So company wants to achieve the global efficiency, they want to improve the productivity. And what are the key objectives? Like strategics, so who are the suppliers, how they want to select the factories, which third party logistics providers or fourth party logistics provider, and where is the presence of risk in supply chain. So tell me, in this supply chain, what could go wrong, what unexpected events you may face. Transportation risk. Let's start with the farmers. First is the raw material, what problems they may face, unexpected events. Sorry? Weather, yeah, because of weather the production may go wrong. Okay, that's the one. Weather like drought, flooding, all those things. Then when they are transferring from US to Bangladesh, something could happen during that transportation, sea freight. That's the unexpected event. What could happen in the Bangladesh? Labor strike or some machine breakdown. Did you know, in the history of this fashion sector, one of the major incidents happened in Bangladesh in 2013? What was that event? Any idea? There was a 5-story building, Rana Plaza building. Name of that building was Rana Plaza. It was outside the Dhaka, the capital. So it was collapsed in 2013, and around more than 1200 or 1300 people died in that incident, and more than 2500 or 3000 workers got injured. What was the reason behind that? In that factory, at the ground floor, there were a couple of shops, banks, and all those things. Second, third floor, all these 5 big factories were there, and they were making the products, clothes, all those. These are for the big retailers located in western part, US, UK and other things. So problem happened because that building was they established on the ponds. Basically the foundation was not good, and they had a permission only for second or third floors, but they illegally built the fourth and fifth floor. Before the incident there were crack on that buildings, but still I know because of that the pressure from the owner and all those things, they still continued the production there. And then during, I don't know the exact date, April 2013 or something, that building collapsed, and more than, as I said, 1200 people died in that one. Okay. And after that, then everybody was talking about these western retailers, all these Zara, M&S, all those things, because these suppliers, they were supplying the products to those western retailers. And then everybody was talking, blaming them, what are you doing? Your suppliers, the workers, those who are working in your in your suppliers factory, they experience these problems. You are not looking after your suppliers. Okay. So it's your job, it's your job to look after your supplier, to make sure that the workers, they are getting good wages, the working conditions are good. So that's the another very famous example in fashion supply chain. So what does the company want to achieve? Global efficiency, quality, scalability, transparency. That's why they do this, logistics and supply chain. Some of the decisions: short-term decision, order allocation, production; medium-term demand forecasting, production planning; long-term choosing suppliers and reasons for raw materials; scope of risk, farmer side, weather related, drought, flooding. Okay. Operational risk, factory delays; financial risk, volatility in cotton prices or labor cost. Something happened in the Bangladesh recently. What was it? Riots. Yeah, it's the previous prime minister left the country. Tell me, if you are running a business in Bangladesh, for example, suppose you are from Western country, you have got the supplier in that country, what could happen with your business? You may face the shortages. Why? Because if your supplier working in that country, and because of this political instability, you may not get the products on time, labor strikes are there, all those things. That's why when you locate your supplier, when you locate distribution center, that's why you need to think about the the political stability of that country as well. If suppose governments are changing frequently, so you may face additional taxes. So same thing happened with that Bangladesh as well. When all these major H&M, Zara, they experienced the problems because of this whatever the ongoing crisis in Bangladesh. Financial risk, volatility in cotton prices or labor costs; market risk, shift in consumer demand; environmental risk, natural disaster, flooding, tsunamis. Okay. Geopolitical risk, trade restriction, tariffs and political instability; reputational risk, negative image because of unethical practice. Suppose one of your supplier is doing unethical practices, and you are the major player in that supply chain. So the government and the normal public, they will not blame that supplier, they will blame it, but they will blame main player in the supply chain. Who is the main player? The manufacturer, or who is the powerful player. So those companies will face some reputational damages because of these events. So this is a example of the t-shirt. We have got the farmers, cotton producers, first member, then they send the raw material, raw cotton to the Bangladesh, they make the yarn and fabric, then they go to the garment factories, logistics provider, retailers, consumers. In addition to that, we have some machinery providers, indirect members, auditors, inspectors. So many members are involved in that supply chain, and the risk may arise from any member, from any link in the supply chain. You cannot say that we may not face the risk from farmers. That is not the case, because this is a global supply chain, volatile, dynamic, interconnected, long. So we may face problem from any end. So the answers of our that quiz: why did we experience the stockouts? The demand was more than supply. Essential products, manufacturer couldn't scale up. Safety stock and lead times problem. Lean supply chain, removing the non-value added activities. Then toilet paper shortages like minimum safety stock, long lead times, expensive machinery. How we can improve the supply chain? Reduce the product variety. I talked about product variety. Regular maintenance to improve the utilization. Direct delivery, just in time strategy to minimize excess inventory. Supply chain leaks affected. Suppliers face raw material shortages and trade restrictions. Consumers experience stockouts, rising cost, all those things. How did consumer behavior change? Because of increased safety stock, re-evaluated reorder points, panic buying. Okay. Why were manufacturers slow? Because raw material shortages, limited flexibility. Short-term solutions, reduced product variety, focused on high demand items, purchase items, restrictions on purchase items. And what is the role of digital supply chain in this one? Tell me. You experience this problem. What is the role of digital supply chain or digital transformation or digitization in this network? Okay. Yes. So the improve visibility. In order to improve the visibility, you need the IoT devices, RFID sensors. If everybody is using these IoT devices, you don't need to manually inform your suppliers, your distributors, all the timely information. That is again very important when you are saying timely information. Suppose you are informing your distributor retailer, but that timely nature is not there. You are delaying while sharing that information. So how can then that retailer or distributor make the data driven decisions to optimize the supply chain? So timely and accurate information, whenever the members in supply chain, when they get this information, they will make their decision based on that timely and accurate information. Integrating using IoT, AI, cloud computing, and 5G. Again, when you want to transfer the information, you need that communication network. So 5G, cloud computing. Again, you need to store the data. You cannot store this, transfer this data, whatever information in normal form. That's why you need cloud computing. Again, AI, artificial intelligence, means with the help of that information that you receive, artificial intelligence will use some algorithms to optimize the network. Suppose you know that you have a problem from one supplier, AI tool will find out the solution considering all the current existing resources. Enhance visibility and real-time decision making across supply chain silos. So what is the scope of then supply risk in this supply chain? We know the supply chain now from supplier end to the customer end. So what is the scope from where the risk may come in your supply chain? So risk can be induced by the unexpected events on the demand side. Demand side means from your customer, sudden panic buying, okay, or demand may go down, or the distributor side problem, retailer side, or supply side, supply shortages, or suppose quality is not good, lead time is more within the company itself. Suppose workers they started doing the strike, or frequent machine failure, or breakdowns, or cyber attack on your IT system within your factory. So that's the risky events within your factory from the perspectives of both process and control. And finally the environment means in which your supply chain is operating. Suppose your supply chain is local supply chain, you may not face that much of external risk. External risk means whatever the man-made disaster or natural disaster from weather or strikes. So basically in simple words, what is risk? It is an uncertain event or condition, and when it occurs, it has a positive or negative effect. Again, listen this definition. Normally when you see the risk, first thing we see negative effect, losses. But if you take the proactive action, you can take that as an opportunity. That's why it has a positive or negative effect on a supply chain performance. Your profit may go up or your profit may go down. That's called unexpected events. So you can see some example like COVID-19, then the evergreen stuffs, ship stuck, then some accidents. So there are three important stages of risk management. First one is the risk identification. Once you identify the risk, then risk analysis, assessment, and then third one is the mitigation. Some of the recent global events. How COVID affected the BMW, Honda, Toyota suspend UK car production. Why? Because of the lack of component shortages from supplier, then problems within the factory. Red Sea crisis attacks, you can see delaying goods and pushing up cost from say. And recent fire, as I said, LA wildfires among the costliest in recent history. You can see how much lost they in that fire, 135 billion to 150 billion USD. And this is the one of the recent example. Political crisis happen in the Bangladesh. H&M, Zara face major disruption as Bangladesh garment factory shut down amid political crisis. So that's why when you locate the supplier, when you locate the factory, one of the criteria is geopolitical stability of that country. If country is not stable, you may face unexpected, because you are doing the strategic decision long term, you are not doing the operational or medium term decisions. Once you open the factory, you cannot change the factory location of that in next 1 year or 2 years. Why? Because you make the huge investment there, and that's why you need to consider all those factors while making this kind of decision. UK manufacturers face higher cost as Ukraine crisis hits supply. Ukraine is major supplier for the minerals, metals, and the food grains as well. So when this Ukraine Russia war started, the prices in the international market, fuel prices, metal prices, it started increasing. So that's the another unexpected events, you could say. Any doubts? So what are the implication of this supply chain risk? There are many type of risk from end to end supply chain, okay, such as natural disasters, earthquake, flooding, economic risk, price fluctuation, and currency changes. Okay, when you do the international business, you need to pay the the payment in their currency. So if there is a the frequent fluctuation in the currency, that will also affect the supply chain. Political risk, trade wars, tariffs is one, another is the trade war. Okay, like how US China, they did the trade wars in the past. That is another case of political risk. Technological risk, cyber attacks. You might have heard the cyber attacks. Okay, because nowadays we are talking about this digital supply chain, all those things. Huge amount of data is generated at each stage, and if you don't properly manage that data, there is a risk of cyber attack as well. And then I think 2-3 years before, there was a huge cyber attack on the in the US on their the fuel pipeline. Okay, so their whole fuel pipeline was affected because of that cyber attack. And then the team that attacked, they did the attack, they asked the company that the fuel managing company, that pipeline, huge amount of money. Okay, so those kind of cyber attacks. So basically, when you generate huge amount of the data, you need to make sure that your data is safe, nobody can attack your data, all the personalized information, all those things you need to keep safe. And that's why this blockchain, all those advanced technology, they make sure your data is secure and you may not face this kind of cyber attacks. Yeah, go on. Yeah, so fuel pipeline means they had online systems to manage the the fuel, crude oil in the US. And then one of the the gang, they attacked their the online platform, and whole the pipeline, basically their online system was affected. And everybody facing the problems, fuel shortages in the US. And then you can Google it on as well. And then the team, the basically the gang who attacked that the online system of that fuel pipeline, they asked huge money. And in fact, that company paid the money as well, because they did not have any problem. There was a huge shortages from customer end. Operational risk, supplier failure, geopolitical risk, conflicts such as wars or civil unrest. So what are the characteristics of risky events? Probability, duration, and severity. First thing, we will talk about probability. What is the likelihood of occurrence of that event? Okay, probability of occurrence. Then the duration, how long that event will be there, like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. Severity, whether it will significantly affect your supply chain or it is a minor impact. Okay, if there is a supplier delivery, half an hour delivery, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's half an delivery. So severity will greatly vary as per the products. Risk will be sensitive to the context of the company. Context means your suppose company is local company, your suppliers, distributors are local, you may not face so much risk from the from environment, external environment, its markets, and its position in the chain. So the permutation and combination of risks, such that the few generalization apply. But it is very difficult to find out all the unexpected events in your supply chain. Why? Because sometimes you don't have the sufficient history available. That's why you cannot predict, or you cannot find out some unforeseen or unexpected events. Okay, so that's why what we do, we see the historical data available in your company. Suppose you have got the 5 suppliers. Okay, you see their performance in last 1 year, 2 years, and then you predict whether which supplier will be problematic in next year based on their deliveries, based on the quality they supplied to you. But suppose sometimes if you have hired the new supplier, how could you find out whether this supplier will be problematic next month, next year? We don't have the sufficient amount of data. Okay, so based on the historical data, based on the the past data, you find out which event may occur in the future. So again, AI driven simulation, we could use the any logistics to manage these risky events. So so far we know how to model the risky event, how to model supply chain in this software, but there is a way to create the unexpected events here. Suppose you have supply chain of supplier, manufacturer, distributor, and customer. Now you want to check what happens if my manufacturing plant is closed for 1 month. You could do here, you could close that manufacturing plant one month, okay, and then you see the impact on the your profit, cost, and all those. Suppose there is a problem in the transportation link. If one of the road network is affected, one of the route is affected, and you want to visualize what will happen when that route is affected, you can do there. You can add the unexpected events and you check the performance, whether your profit will go down or your profit will go up. Those kind of things we could do here. You can see some risk analysis here, okay, and what if baseline scenario, comparison scenario. Ericsson Sony case. Yesterday I talked a little bit about Ericsson and Sony. Okay, again very famous case study of risky events. What happen when you depend on the single supplier? So how Ericsson become the Sony Ericsson? So what happened basically? Ericsson and Nokia were the two biggest players in the communication industry during 2000. Okay, Nokia had a multi-supplier strategy for the microchips, semiconductor chips. They had the Philips and other suppliers to get the semiconductor chip. Ericsson had only one supplier. Which was that supplier? Philips. Philips had a plant across the world, but there one of the plants in New Mexico was supplying the 40% supply to these companies, Nokia and Ericsson. On March 17, 2000, Philips semiconductor plant in Albuquerque, New Mexico caught fire because of lightning. Because of lightning, they had this fire. With the help of sprinklers and all the fire extinguishers, they managed to stop the fire in 10 minutes. Okay, fire happened in their production lane, basically where they make the production of those semiconductor chips. But they had another storage room near to that production room, and in that storage room there were thousands of semiconductor chips ready for the shipment. Okay, and when they started sprinklers to stop the fire, because of that smoke and water, what happened, that smoke and water enter into that storage room, and this contaminated those thousands of chips stored into that in that the storage room, and this affected Europe's two largest electronics companies. It took 3 weeks before production was up and running, and they had taken the 6 months to run their factory with the 50% production level, and it took years before new equipment was delivered and installed. You can see here now, this is the the photo of where they make the semiconductor chips. As I said yesterday, if you look at that the semiconductor production room, it is 1,000 times cleaner than your operation theater in hospital, because if any dust or something enters into that one, the whole chip will be affected. So that's why, and you can say now this whole smoke enter into that the storage room, it has significantly affected those stock. Then what was the responses of this accident? Nokia immediately recognized the threat. How? Because they were getting the regular updates, weekly updates from the Philips, and when they faced some problems, they couldn't get the delivery updates from the Philips about their stock, then they thought that something happened there and they are not telling us. Then they immediately changed their plan. From 7 days checking, they went to the daily checking. They said that, okay, you are not providing us the information, we are now going the daily check. Okay, so daily check. So continuous monitoring used to check 5 parts made in New Mexico once a day instead of the customary once a week. One team of executive. Okay. In addition, when they received this information, they had taken three actions. Nokia. What? First thing they did, they sent one team to the Philips plant in New Mexico to manage the supply from that Philips. One team went there. They asked that, okay, you had a problem here. It looks like we don't get the products, semiconductor chips in maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You do one thing. What? You supply the semiconductor chips from your other plants. Okay, and Philips did not have any other option. Why? Because Nokia and Ericsson were the main players. 40% of supply from that plant, it was going to those two companies. And Philips agreed, okay, we are happy to provide you the supply from other plants. Then another, what they did, they organized another team and they sent to the cross continental, to find out the additional suppliers who can supply these semiconductor chips. Then third action they have taken, they have redesigned their cell phone so that these new chips will fit into their cell phone. And then with the help of these actions, they achieved their sales targets and their profit went up by 42% in that year. This was the Nokia's approach. Look at the Ericsson's approach. Ericsson, how did they get the information about this one? On March 17 it happened. After 4 or 5 days at ground level, some people were talking about something happened at Philips plant, but we don't know exactly what happened. Their management was totally unaware of what happened. They thought that if there might be some problem at Philips plant, they would inform us. Okay, they waited for the Philips response. When they tried to recover, entire worldwide supply for chips was committed to Nokia. When they went into the market to find out the supplier, everything was captured by Nokia. More passive and slow response. They missed the critical product information. Annual loss was 400 million USD. Somehow they get the compensation from insurance, 200 million, but still they had a 2 million loss. They seized the making cell phones under individual brand, and then Sony had taken over the Ericsson, and then it started the Sony Ericsson. So Flextronics took over some plants, and after that as well, 200 million loss. Because of this incident, they had some other problems as well. So overall loss was 1.68 billion USD. So what key lessons have we learned from this one? What do you think? It is surprising how vulnerable a major corporation for a small event. Only 10 minutes fire was there, and two big players in the electronic industry. Then you can see how that small event affected that big corporations. Organizations are affected by events that are far away, over which they have no control, even propagated ripple effect through supply chain. So this is the good example of ripple effect. Why? If you look at the US, and the Philips and Nokia, they were from Europe, 4,000, 5,000 miles away. Event occurred in US. Impact we have seen in the Europe and other parts. So this is called ripple effect. Something happened at one end, after that the effect goes to the other members. Ericsson had no mechanism to deal with the unforeseen events. They reacted to the event. Nokia had an approach to manage the risk, and they consider it as opportunity, and they increase their profits by 42%. Okay, so it depends on the company's approach or manager's approach, how you can take that proactive action. Okay, suppose if you know something gonna happen, you take that as an opportunity, you use your backup sources, backup resources, and then you can make some profit from that one. Another very interesting example. How many of you drive the car? Anyone big fan of Range Rover, Land Rover? Okay, so again going back to the 2000, during that time, the Land Rovers, this Discovery model was very popular. Okay, Land Rover's Discovery model was very popular, and the Land Rover, this company is from Great Britain. Okay, so for their Discovery model, for the chassis, they had only one supplier, and the supplier was UPF Thomson. UPF Thomson was their only one supplier for this chassis for the Discovery. So what happened? This UPF Thomson, they did some investment in some foreign investment they did, and they incurred the huge losses in that foreign investment. Okay, and they went into the bankruptcy. They couldn't run their model. They couldn't run their business. They went into the bankrupt in 2001. Tell me, suppose if you take loan from your bank for your car or for your house, and if you are not able to pay that loan, what would happen? Sorry? Mortgage, yeah, but what will happen? Suppose you are not able to pay that your loan for house, they will seize your assets or house. They will sell your house or they will sell your car. Same thing happened when UPF Thompson they went into the bankrupt. The creditors, the from whom they took the loan, what they did, the banks, all the other creditors, they appointed the receiver. What is the purpose of receiver? This is the person or this is the body who sells all your assets and they try to recover the as much of money from you. So that's the then banks and other the teams, they appointed KPMG as a receiver to recover the as much of money as from the UPF Thompson. Okay, so now when KPMG was appointed, KPMG went to the UPF Thompson. They analyzed their network. Okay, who are our supplier, who are our main customer, and they found one important thing into that their agreement, their documents. They found that Land Rover's discovery model, for Land Rover's discovery model, UPF Thompson is the only one supplier. So they thought that okay, now we could do one thing. What? We could go to the Land Rover and we could ask some money so that we can clear our debts. Okay. So then KPMG went to the Land Rover discovery and said that okay, everything was going well. So KPMG went there and they asked, okay, you give us the 35 to 40 million upfront cost, advance payment. For what purpose? To recover or to clear our debts. And then Land Rover asked, why? You had a problem, you invested somewhere, you experienced the losses. Why you are asking not like 1 or 2 million? You are asking, imagine during 2000 they are asking 35 to 45 million USD upfront cost. Then KPMG threatened Land Rover. They said that if you don't do these advance payments, we will not supply you the chassis. And chassis, that discovery model was so popular at that time. And then Land Rover thought that okay, if you don't get the chassis, how could you make the production? And there is a huge demand for us. Then Land Rover did not have any options rather than going to the court. Okay, Land Rover went to the court and then they in the court said that you cannot exploit these kind of contracts because there was no problem from Land Rover, everything was running smooth. How could you exploit these kind of agreements to get the upfront cost from the your manufacturer? And it was so popular, again you can Google it. MPs, political parties, they were involved and they were supporting the Land Rover because there was no problem from the Land Rover, and this KPMG was basically taking the advantage of their contract because of the sole dependency of Land Rover on that UPF Thompson. So Land Rover response. So Land Rover said that if you stop making the discovery model, we may lose the 14,000 Land Rover jobs, but jobs again at the supplier, because Land Rover had additional supplier. If they stop making this Land Rover discovery model, more than 10,000 products jobs will go. So you can see this news article as well. So what was the solution? So Land Rover secured a temporary code injection to keep supply going. So court ordered that you continue the supply, and meanwhile Land Rover went to the additional company and they asked to buy the UPF Thompson. But somehow arranged a Mayflower Corporation to acquire the UPF Thompson, prevented the production shutdown and layoffs. But somehow they paid some 10-15 millions to just advance payment because that was their main supplier. So what are the some key takeaways from this study? Risk of sole supplier. Over dependency is dangerous. Okay, if you are only relying on one single supplier, it will affect receivers' power. They act in creditors' interest, not customers. Legal actions can buy time. Business continuity planning is crucial. Business continuity means when you experience some unexpected events, you should have some backup plan, contingency plan to manage these kind of risky events. Okay, so now we'll see couple of terminologies. What is uncertainty? Yesterday I said uncertainty and risk sometimes people use interchangeably. What is uncertainty? Randomness, okay. Not having any kind of probability, okay. Anyone else? What is the difference between uncertainty and risk? Okay. Not a, not a measurable, yes. Some people use risk and uncertainty interchangeably, but there is a clear difference between, if you look at the books and the academic articles. Uncertainty means that we can list down the events that may happen in the future. Okay, so we can say that tomorrow there might be rain or there might be some accident, something like, we can list down these unforeseen events based on your whatever historical information data available, but you don't know whether exactly that event will happen, and you don't know their probability as well. So that's your uncertainty, lack of knowledge about something. Okay, so that is your uncertainty. It is a non-measurable. In t-shirt example, some uncertainties, factory delays or trade restrictions, they may come. You can list down these events, trade restriction is there, strike is there, something is there, but you don't know whether that event will occur, and you don't know their probability as well. So that's your uncertainty. What about then risk? In risk, you can list down the events and you know their probabilities. How do you know the probabilities? What are the ways of finding out the probabilities? Any idea? Okay, frequency of how many times that event occurred in the past, do you mean? Okay, that's correct. That's the one way of calculating the probability. What is the another way of calculating the probability? Have you heard this theoretical probability, where you don't need any knowledge about that event? What is, suppose I asked you, in a normal year, not in a leap year, what is the probability of having two people, whether their birthday is coming on the same day? What is the probability? What is the probability of having two persons birthday on the same day in non leap year? 1 by 365. Do you need the historical data for this? Do you need anything else? Common knowledge. Just based on the common knowledge you can find out. That is called theoretical probability. The one you said, it is called practical probability. You need the historical data. You see how many times that delay happened in the past based on the total delivery. Suppose you have got one supplier, and in the last 1 month they made the 30 deliveries. So 30 deliveries, but out of that 30 deliveries, 20 deliveries were delayed. So 20, how many time event delayed deliveries? 20 divided by total deliveries, 30. So that will give you the probability that may happen in the future, delay delivery. Third one is the, what is it? Experts opinion. You go to the experts and you ask, okay, this is the event, what do you think, that what is the probability of occurrence of that event, and what is the impact? So best, suppose if you have got good amount of experience, 10 years, 15 years, you can tell that, okay, this is the probability, low, medium, high, and this is the impact, low, medium, and significant. So those are the ways to find out the probabilities. So difference between risk has some quantitative measure. For likelihood of future risks are measurable, uncertainty does not. It is not measurable. For example, when suppliers say that a delivery of material should arrive within 3 days, this is uncertainty. It may come, it may not come. Okay, but when they say 90% of deliveries will arrive within 3 days, that is a risk, because in that 10% you may not get the delivery. So that is your risk. Risk, you know the, so okay, so here you can see the very interesting graph. On x axis, outcomes, and then probabilities. What is uncertainty? Known. Results known means potential events. You know the outcomes, you can find out, list down the outcomes, but you don't know the probability. That is your uncertainty. What is risk? You know the outcomes, you know their probabilities. This is your risk. What is the ignorance? You don't know the basically the events, potential events, and you don't know their probabilities. That is called ignorance. Ambiguity, you know the probabilities, okay, but you don't know the outcomes. In the share market, sometimes you can say the probability 50% chance market will go up or down, but you don't know exactly. Okay, so that's the one. Risk, you know the possibilities and the odds. Ambiguity, you know the odds but not the full impact. Uncertainty, you know what might happen but not how likely. Ignorance, you don't even know what you don't know. Ignorance. Risk definition. Risk is an umbrella term with two important components. First one is the opportunity, which is a risk with the positive effects, and the second one is the threat, which is a risk with the negative effects. It is an effect of uncertainty on objectives. So if you see some definition, as I said, This is an uncertain event or condition. When it occurs, it has a positive or negative effect. Okay. So effect means effect of uncertainty. Risk occurs because of uncertainty. Suppose I know everything what will happen tomorrow, everything. Is there any uncertainty? No. Everything is we know everything. There is no risk may not come there. Okay. If it is an effect of uncertainty, it is an effect of uncertainty on objectives where risk can both be positive or negative, profit or loss. Uncertain event or condition, if it occurs as a positive, I already discussed. Some definition like Christopher and Peck, they mention that possibility of an event or combination of events that will disrupt the normal flow of goods or services. What are the three important flows? Material, information, money. When these events occur, what will they do? They will affect one of these flows. Either it could affect your material flow, either it could affect your information flow, either it could affect your money flow. Okay. So if when the flow is affected, it means that the risk occurred. Any risk for the information, material and product flows from original supplier to the delivery of the final product for the end user. Supply chain risk refer to the possibility and effect of mismatch between supply and demand. So you might have heard these terms, robust and resilience, like in the news article, India, US, 12 other IPEF members in supply chain resilience agreement, or something like America needs a robust and resilient supply chain for semiconductors. Europe needs more robust optical fiber. UK takes action to boost supply chain resilience. What is this robust and resilience? Why they are saying robust, resilient sometime? What is the difference? Handling complex scenarios which are not known. Okay. Resistance to uncertainties. Okay. That's your resilience. That's your resilience. And what is robustness then? Resistance to uncertainties, somebody is saying resilience. So what is robustness then? What is robustness? Ability to unknown scenarios. Adaptability. That is your robustness. And he is also saying the same thing, but he is saying about resilience. Ability to handle uncertainties, uncertain events. What is it? Simple, guys. Robustness, how long you can manage those uncertain events before you fall down, before your supply chain collapses, or before your supply chain stops supplying you the products. Robustness, before the occurrence of any uncertain events. What is resilience? That event occurred. Now what's your job? Something happened, supplier stopped supplying you delivery, you had an earthquake, flooding, event occurred. What now? Minimize the effects. Then minimize the effects, and then what do you do when you minimize the effects? Then yeah, what return to your original performance level. Suppose before the occurrence of event your profit is 1 million. Okay, your profit is 1 million. Supplier delivery happened, delivery shortages, earthquake happened, COVID happened, something, your profit went down to 500,000. Initially it was 1 million, now your profit is 500,000. Now event occurred, now you want to recover and come to your original position. You can come to your original position or you can go up as well. That's called resilience. How fast you can come back to your original position or you can go up to more than that, that is called resilience. Okay. So when you say robust supply chain, resilience, robust means you can manage or these unexpected events up to certain level. How long you can take those events, that is your robustness. Okay. Suppose something one of your suppliers stopped supplying you the products and you cannot make products at today, means your factory is closed. Your supply chain is not robust. Why? Because that event occurred today and you cannot manage that event for one day as well. Robustness. And resilience, suppose something happened today, delivery delay, earthquake, flooding, like in Nokia Ericsson case, Philips took almost 6 months to come back from that original position, to come back from that event. So that is not a resilience. Why? Because it is a huge amount of time, 6 months. Okay, you should use your resilience strategies to come back to your original positions. So robust, things that are simply observe disorder and stable. Robustness means how long your supply chain observes disorder or uncertainties, risky events before its disruption. How much can you take before you fall down? That's your robustness. Resilience means how long does it take you to stand up again when something, example, your spring, when you apply pressure, it changes its shape, and when you release it, how fast it comes back to its original position. That is called resilience. So basic process of risk management. Risk occurs because of uncertainty. Uncertainty is first, then risk, and when risk occurs, means there are some possible events, potential events that may happen in the future, and in order to manage those possible events, you propose some responses, some response strategies. So that is your alternative responses, and when you use those alternative responses to manage those events, then you see the impact of your responses. Okay, suppose supplier shortages is there, you go with the backup supplier, you ask them to supply the additional products. Okay, so you decided that now backup supplier is the option for your main supplier shortages. But when you do that, then again you check whether your backup supplier is supplying you the products on time or not. Okay, so that is the consequences of that responsive strategy. That's the risk management basically. And main task in risk management, there are three important tasks. First is the risk identification. Identify the potential events in your supply chains. Then you need to analyze them. What is the need of analyzing them? Why don't you directly, suppose you find 10 events, why don't you manage those 10 events? What is the need of second stage? Yes, to set the priority, because sometimes we don't have the sufficient budget to manage all those events. So you should focus on the most significant risk. When they occur, they may affect your supply chain significantly. You may incur severe losses because of those events. So how do you prioritize? Then you analyze those events and you prioritize. This is your top risk, this is your second risk, the blah blah blah, and at the bottom you have got least significant risk. So you don't need to worry about those least significant risk. Why? Because if those risks will occur, they will not significantly affect your supply chain. That's why you need to focus on the most significant risks. Then third one is designing the appropriate responses. What is the purpose of or role of this designing appropriate responses? What basic thing we need to consider when we design the response? Suppose there is a supply shortages from your supplier, one supplier, you go and because of their supplier shortages you may incur say £1,000 loss. Okay, £1,000 loss. Now you can avoid that loss by going with the your backup supplier, but backup supplier will charge you £1,500. Do you go with the backup supplier? Do you go with the backup, or do you incur the loss from the your main supplier? What do you do? Obviously you don't go with the backup supplier. Why? Because the cost of making that change is higher with the whatever the loss you are experiencing. The loss is happening £1,000, and then the action that you are taking, that action needs £1,500. Unnecessary you are paying 500 additional. That's why when you design the responses, you need to consider so many factors. What is the time, what is the cost of making those changes, and if it is giving some benefits, then only you should design or you should go with that option. Okay, we cannot blindly go with backup supplier, because obviously backup supplier, they know that main manufacturer is experiencing some problems, so they may charge some additional amount for supplying those products. Okay, so now we'll take 10 minutes break and then we'll return, because this is the first part of risk identification. We'll start in the 10 minutes. Okay, any doubts, any questions? Is everybody back? No. Where is Venkat? Inform your friends if they are outside. Okay, we'll start because we'll take the break after 15 minutes around 4 o'clock. Okay, welcome back, guys. So now we talked about the three important stages of risk management: risk identification, risk analysis, and risk mitigation. Okay, so now we are going to talk about some of the types of risks. Does anybody know any risk types? Any idea what are the types of risks? It's easy. Think from supply chain perspective. What is there in supply chain? Come. Operational risk is one category. Supply risk, yeah, that's correct. Supply risk, yeah. I'm not, yeah. Volatile, okay. Anybody else? Supply. So you said supply risk. What is supply risk? Tell me now. Supplies. So yeah. So when you have a problem from your suppliers, that is called supplier risk. What else? Reputational risk, yeah. Transportation risk, when suppose you had an accident or something, that is transportation. You said supply risk. What is next? Yeah, go on. Yeah, manufacturer risk. Manufacturer risk means risk coming from your factory, that is the one. Then what next? Yeah, transportation is already done. What next? Distributor, okay. Downstream side. Consumer risk, that's the one. Demand risk. Who said demand? Demand risk. So these are the classification of risk: supply risk, demand risk, the process related risk, basically within the risk coming from the manufacturing plant or from your warehouse, and the external risk. So these are the classification of risk. So internal risk means risks that are coming from your factory. Okay, what is your focus organization? Suppose your focus organization is manufacturing plant. What could go wrong in your manufacturing plant? Tell me. Suppose your focus organization is manufacturing factory. What could go wrong in your manufacturing factory? Fire. What else? Power supply. Okay. Machine breakdown. What else? Labor strike. Okay. What else? How could it is within your factory? I am talking about within your factory. Machine failure, machine breakdown, accidents, uncertain natural events. Yeah, so they may occur from external environment. They may not come from the within your factory or within your warehouse. Machine breakdown, your accidents, fire, something happen in your manufacturing plant or any warehouse. Focus organization, it can be any player in your supply chain. Suppose you are running a warehouse distribution center, then internal risk means what could go wrong in your warehouse. Suppose there are no sufficient labors to move your goods, forklift trucks are not moving properly, something good go wrong in your warehouse, in your distribution center, that's your internal risk. Okay, so there are two kinds of internal risk. One is the subcategories: process related risk, and second is control. Process related risks come from the inherent operations of that one. Inherent operations, as I said, machine breakdown, some accidents, IT, the failure in your manufacturing plant. Process, what are the processes in that manufacturing plant, distribution center, and the events that are affecting those processes. Second one is the control risk. So what is this control risk? Control risk means the managers in that warehouse, distribution center, or in that manufacturing plant, they take some decisions. What kind of decision? What is my inventory level? How much safety stock do I want to keep? The risk coming because of these decisions taken by the managers, it is called control risk. Okay, suppose my safety stock I haven't set properly, so I may face overstocking, understocking, or my inventory level is not good, the batches and all those things. So that's the control related risk, two categories. Then you have got the supply side risk. We call it as supply risk, supply chain upstream risk. So the problem from your supplier side, supplier shortages, delivery problem, or you receive the delivery but the quality is not good. Okay, you receive the products but the quality is not good. So those kind of things, and it could be from any supplier, tier 1 supplier, tier 2 supplier, tier 3 supplier. It could be from any supplier. Then customer side risk. Okay, so like sudden demand spike from customers, their frequent changes. They want the lead time products as soon as possible. Those kind of things, or the during COVID-19, like there was a huge demand for the essential products, there was no demand for the non-essential products. So those kind of the consumers behavior, and because of those events, we call them as a downstream risk. So suppose your focus organization is manufacturing plant, so whatever the risk coming from distributor, retailer, customer, they come under your downstream risk. And then third category is external risk, environment surrounding your supply chain. So there are two categories of external risk. What are those two categories? Man-made and natural. Man-made disaster, war, some attacks, terrorist attacks, cyber attacks. Okay, so these risks come from the external environment. They don't come from your manufacturing plant, they don't come from your supply chain side. Okay, they come from the external environment. Second one is the natural disaster, naturally earthquake, flooding, tsunamis. Internal risks arise from operations within an organization, within any focus organization. Two subcategories: process related and control. Process means management and value added activities in your organization. These are inherent in your operations, such as accident, the reliability of equipment, loss of an information technology system, human errors, quality issues, machine breakdown, all those things. Control, rules and system which govern how a firm control the processes. Okay, so here risks that arise more directly from manager's decisions. As I said, as a manager, you are taking some decision for safety stock, inventory level, or how much products you should make. So those are the decisions you normally take in that organization. So risk coming because of these decisions, those are called as control risk, such as choice of batch sizes, safety stock levels, financial problems, delivery schedules. So here you can see some pictures of the your machine breakdown and strikes and so on. Supply side risk, upstream risk, supply chain risk are external to the organization. Why we are saying supply chain risk are external to the organization? Why we are saying supply chain risk are external to the organizations, but within the supply chain? First category is internal risk. Risk coming from within your factory, within your warehouse. When you go outside that warehouse, it is called external. That's why supply chain risk are external to your factory, external to your warehouse, but they are within your supply chain. These occur from the interaction between the members of supply chain and are principally risk from suppliers. Reliability, supplier failure. Supplier failure means one of the suppliers stops supplying you the products because of bankruptcy, like in Land Rover case. UPF Thompson stopped supplying you the products. Why? Because of bankruptcy. Supplier commitment. Supplier initially committed that they will send you the products in 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, but they couldn't. Supplier commitment. Supply costs. Suppliers are sending the products, but they are charging you more cost, more prices. Supply costs or outsourcing sometimes. These are the some of the examples. You can say Jaguar Land Rover halts production at UK plants due to pandemic shortages. The global toilet paper shortages. Online retailer Ocado warns of shortages as supplier cut choice. So delivery problems, industrial actions. So whatever the unexpected events coming from your upstream level, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 suppliers, so that's your upstream risk. We call them as a supply risk as well. Downstream risk coming from your downstream level, downstream members. It could be your distribution center, retailers, or customers. Risk from customers, demand risk, variable demand, sudden spike in demands or sudden drops in demand, payments problems with order processing. you deliver the products but you didn't receive the payment. So that's the another case. Customized requirements, you can say, suppose here forecasting, there is a problem in forecasting. Okay, so if you don't do the forecasting properly, you may end up with the overstocking, understocking. Okay, so market change like if suppose market is doing something else, and if you are not following that trend, so you may face some problems. So you need to see the trends as well. Like I think on first day or second day I told you there is a new trend going on, live stream shopping. We know online shopping, all those shopping, but live stream shopping is also there. Live stream shopping means some influencer or celebrities, they come online, they give the advertise the products, and you can do the shopping. Okay, so that is called live stream shopping again. So you need to follow those things. Sometimes if customers are more interested in those kind of trends or those kind of things, you need to also make changes in your strategy. Customer preference change, essential. If customer wants more essential products, then you need to make the changes. Technology change, again, if there is a new technology and if you are not following that technology, then you may again suffer some losses there. External risk are external to the supply chain. Why? Because they don't come from the factory, from supply side or from demand side. They come from the external environments, and there are arise from interaction with its environment. Man-made, war, economic risk, societal risk means some kind of pandemic or those kind of things. Political risk, change in regulation, legal risk. Suppose suddenly you are exporting something in, for example, in US has now increased the tariffs. Man-made risk. Okay, security and terrorism, cyber security, strikes. Natural disasters means geological disaster, earthquake, eruptions, then hydrological disaster, flooding, tsunamis, meteorological like droughts and wildfire. So these are the two subcategories of your external risks: man-made and natural disasters. So here is the overall picture of the risk categorization. For risk is the basically the combination of your probability of occurrence of that risky event and what is the impact. Okay, probability of occurrence of, and then the what are the consequences, impact. So we have got, first is the internal risk. Internal risk, you have got two subcategories: process and control. Process means the risk coming from your operations, equipment reliability, limited capacity, bottlenecks, inflexible processes. Control means the risk coming from your decisions as a managers, poor visibility, lack of collaborative planning, or bullwhip effect. Why bullwhip effect affects? Because of the lack of visibility. You don't know the exact demand from customers, retailers, and that's why bullwhip effect. Amplification in demand from downstream level to the your upstream level. So that's your control risk. Then you have got supply and demand risk. Supply side, dependency on key supplier. Ericsson and Nokia, Land Rover and Thomson, good examples what happens when you depend on the single supplier. So that's a supplier risk. Quality and management issue. Okay, your suppliers are sending you the products on time, but quality is not good. What is the use of that products? Offshore sourcing issues. Do you know this offshore, onshoring, nearshoring? Have you heard this term? Offshoring, nearshoring, onshoring, sourcing issues. No? Nearshoring means your manufacturing plant is here in the, for example, in India, and your suppliers are located near to your countries. So that is called nearshoring. Offshoring means your manufacturing plant in India, but your suppliers are located very far from you. Offshoring, because of the the availability of raw material, cheap labor, you do that. Nearshoring, offshoring, or reshoring. Reshoring means during COVID-19, when lockdown and border closures imposed, many companies they experienced the shortages and the high sudden demand. So everybody was bringing their suppliers back to their own country. Suppose every member in your supply chain it is in the same country, you may not face the the global problems. Okay, so that's why during COVID-19 everybody was talking about this offshoring, reshoring, or nearshoring. It basically tells you where are your suppliers are located, where are your manufacturers are located, and when these unexpected events happen, the this near shoring or local shoring, they are beneficial for you because you have got suppliers located nearly. Demand risk, volatility of demand, short life cycle, innovative competitor. Another the innovative competitor means, suppose you are running your business but suddenly competitor enters into that sector and they are selling some innovative products, so then it will affect your demand side, the risk as well. Then environmental risk like as in external, man-made and natural disaster, terrorism, war, regulatory risk, strikes, information, cyber threats, cyber attacks. It will affect your the continuous flow of information. Intellectual property breach, data management related risk as well. Have you heard this risk register, this term? So risk register is basically when you identify the risk in your supply chain. What do you do next? You identify the risk. Then what do you do next? You want to analyze it. Okay, but you want to keep the notes of that the risk, whatever the identified risk. Okay, what information? So risk register is a document basically where you keep the you describe the important risks. It is identification to produce the list of risk in the supply chain, and this list is often called as risk register. Risk register, it contains the information about all the identified risks. What are the risks identified in your supply chain? What are the causes of that risk? What are the potential consequences? What is the probability of occurrence? What is the impact? What mitigation strategy you are going to propose? Who is responsible for that risk? Suppose there is a problem from your supply side, do you go to the demand side, marketing or someone to look after that risk? No. So who is responsible in your organization to manage that risk? So here risk register document may contain the description of the risk. Suppose delivery shortage is there, you add the description, what is that problem, when you had that problem, what is the source of that risk, what is the likely impact of that risk, what is the probability of event happening in that event, what is the possible mitigation, what are the consequences of those risks. Okay, illustration of a basic risk register, you can see these are the risk identified. Okay, date recognized, when you identify that risk, who is the owner, who is responsible to manage that risk, what is the description of that risk. Okay, suppose supplier delivery shortages is there or supplier delivery problem, write down the description of the impact, probability, consequences, all those, what are the causes. So this is just one example, but it depends on the company, it depends on the individual what you want to add. Okay, you can, but this is just general description of risk register. So now we talked about the risk register of t-shirt supply chain. Tell me some risky events in that t-shirt supply chain. First one is we talked about supplier side problem, weather, droughts. Because of that, the raw cotton may not be good or may be insufficient. So this is one example of risk register for t-shirt supply chain. Risky event, risk ID. Risk event is cotton crop failure. Your crop may not be good because of why? This is risk category, whether it is environmental, external, internal, this is a risk category. What is the cause of this event? This is drought, pest, climate change. These are the causes of this risk. What are the consequences? What are the impacts of this cotton crop failure? Reduce cotton supply and the reduce higher prices. Likelihood, probability of occurrence of that event, medium. Impact, high. Risk owner, who is the owner, who has to manage that risk? Cotton farmers. Mitigation strategy, how do you mitigate that one? Tell me, how do you mitigate the cotton crop failure problem? How do you diversify your supply? How do you diversify supply? Sorry? Yeah, you are saying go to the other suppliers, alternative suppliers, but from where? We are saying cotton crop failure because of drought, pest, climate change. Suppose in US one region is facing this problem, you should have the suppliers in another region, not from the same region. You are saying diversifying, but again you cannot go in the same region. Why? Because the whole region is facing that problem. So diversifying means you need to go with the alternative suppliers, not in the same region, but in different regions. Use drought resistant seeds. Sometimes you could do that as well. So category contingency plan. What is mitigation and contingency plan? What is difference between mitigation and contingency? Okay, it is a backup plan. What else? Sorry, yeah, just give me 2 minutes. Yeah, alternative plan, backup plan, alternative plan. When do you activate that plan? Yeah, that's the one. Mitigation plan is before the occurrence of that event. Crop failure, you are saying, but before the occurrence, you do something. What you do? You go with the alternative supplier. You do the crop drought resistant seeds. But despite these mitigation plans, suppose that event happened. Now what? Event happened, now you need to reduce the impact. Now that is called contingency plan. Source from alternative reasons, and detection method means how you are gonna detect that event. Weather monitoring, supplier reports. Recovery time is basically with how much time do you need. Factory fire, again operational risk, cause poor safety standards. Consequences, you can say production delays, worker casualties, likelihood impact. Risk owner, who is the owner for factory fire? Factory owner. Mitigation, enforce strict safety regulation audits, relocate production, insurance claims. When this the Bangladesh, China, when they experienced these problems recently, many suppliers they started moving their plants in the India. Okay, so this is the reason. Relocating your production, insurance claims, or those kind of thing. Safety inspection, compliance reports. Labor strike, social category. Poor wages, working condition. Consequences, production stoppage, shipment delays. Likelihood medium, impact medium. Risk owner, factory management. How do you mitigate that? Improve the wages, improve the working condition. Contingency, okay, despite improving wages and increasing the salary, whatever, your employees they did the strike. What now? Go with the emergency or temporary worker, negotiate with the unions. Those are the things. Employee, how you detect those the events? Through employee feedback, union discussions. Supplier bankruptcy, best example is UPF Thompson and Land Rover. Financial risk category, financial instability. Consequences, disruption in fabric material supply, low high. Risk owner, procurement team. Work with the multiple suppliers, financial waiting. Supplier bankruptcy, you need to have multiple suppliers. And then contingency plan is activate backup supplier, adjust the orders. Detection method, financial health monitoring audits. Okay, because many do you know, can we access the financial health, guys? Financial health and records of the companies, can you access it? Why can't we access it? Yeah, easily. You don't need to go anywhere. Just check their quarterly annual reports and you see whether how much profit they are making or not. On that basis you can find out, okay, whether there might be some problem, financial problem from this supplier. Shipment delays, port congestion, logistics, global logistics issues, missed retail deadline, stocks high, medium, logistics provider. You can use alternative transport routes, ship to air freight, local suppliers. Okay, and these are some of the additional risky events: ethical sources violation, consumer demand fluctuation, cyber security breach. And in Nokia and Ericsson case, risky events, supplier semiconductor supply shortages. Operational causes, fire at Philips semiconductor plant. Consequences, risk owner, supply chain team. Mitigation, multi-sourcing, increase safety stock. Contingency, secure alternative suppliers. Production delays. So production delays happen, but because of what? Because of supplier shortages. So this is a secondary risk, you can say. Main problem was suppliers semiconductor chip shortages, but because of that semiconductor chip, now you are experiencing the another risk. That's the production delays. Then financial losses, single sourcing dependency, lack of supply chain visibility. These are the some of the risky events you can see there. So now we'll take the 10 minutes break and then we'll continue the risk analysis after that. Tea is already there, guys. Tea and snacks, you can have it. Venkat is Sai. Could you please ask some all the students to come back? Okay. Yeah. Okay, students, we'll resume our session. We talked about the risk register. Have you understood what is risk register now? What is the purpose of risk register? Okay, so basically to describe, the risk, the causes, the consequences, what is the probability, all those, the details you can add into the risk register. And we have seen the two examples as well: risk register for t-shirt supply chain, and then this is an OK Ericsson case, lack of supply chain visibility, single sourcing. You can find the details of mitigation, contingency plan, detection method, and if you want to add additional columns, you could do that as well. So now once you identify the risks, risk register is ready. Risk register, we have got the first part is completed. Our in that we mentioned the description of risk, who is the owner of that risk, what are the causes of that risk, what are the some of the consequences of those risks. Now we need to analyze it. For what purpose? In order to prioritize your risky events, whatever the risky events you have identified. So there are basically two ways to analyze or to evaluate your risk. First one is the qualitative way, second one is the quantitative. So what do we do in the qualitative? Basically we try to identify or analyze the nature of the risk with qualitative description of the risk, consequences with a qualitative view of potential losses or gains, likelihood whether the risk will be materialized. So basically you try to use some qualitative terms like probability of occurrence, you say low, medium, high. Then the impact, you can say minor impact, major impact, significant impact. You don't use any numerical terms, numerical ranking, like the 4 5 7, those kind of things. So that's the qualitative approach. And normally when you do the when you take the opinion, experts, experts opinion, at that time you go with this qualitative one. Okay, so you can ask the experts, these are the identified risk, we identify the risk. Now as per your knowledge, provide us the information for probability of occurrence, impact, all those things, responsibility, ownership of the risk, and responsibility for its control. So whoever person is available in that organization to manage that risk, we take the opinion of that person as well, stakeholders, people affected by the risk and their expectations. So take the example of societal risk. If workers they are not getting the good wages, they are not the working condition is not good, then you have a chat with the those affected people, objectives that risk management is trying to achieve, relations to ship to the other risk, subsequent changes to operations, current methods of risk management, and so on. So by definition these risks they are limited by not giving any numerical measures. So qualitative means all subjective, we don't collect any numerical measures for this one. When you add some numerical measures, suppose you are saying low probability of occurrence, numerical you are saying 1, then medium 3, then high 5. So 1, 3, 5 you are assigning some number to that subjective term, that is called quantitative way of analyzing the risk. Then similarly for impact you have got the minor impact, you have got the major impact, significant or catastrophic impact. So you again assign the number to each your subjective term, that will become your quantitative one. Okay, so this gives a precise and objective description of the seriousness of a risk and its consequences when you do the quantitative way. So that's your basically qualitative and quantitative way. In quantitative way, in quantitative approach, we have got probability and impact numbers. We multiply the probability. Suppose probability of risky events, say supplier delivery, is 3. 3 is your numerical measure. The impact is say 5. You multiply 3 into 5, you get 15. Okay, this is one event. Then you have got additional event. You have got the numerical measure for probability. You have got the numerical measure for impact. You multiply those numbers, you get the risk score. So then on the basis of those risk score, you prioritize the risky events. That is a simple and easy way of analyzing the risk. But there is another very classic and famous approach to analyze the risk. Have you heard this term, failure mode and effect analysis, FEMA? What is it? Tell me. What is FEMA? What is the purpose of FEMA? Failure mode and effect analysis. Its name suggests that, failure mode and effect analysis. Hmm. 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 Term, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So in failure mode and effect analysis, first term, failure mode, we try to identify all the failure modes that may happen in that whatever product you are considering or your supply chain. You identify those failure mode. Failure mode means vulnerable. Have you heard this term, vulnerability? What do you mean by vulnerable supply chain? Somebody is saying your supply chain is vulnerable. What do you mean by that? Is prone to risk. It is more susceptible to the unexpected events. During COVID-19, we were saying that vulnerable people should not go outside. Why? Because there are more chances of they can catch the virus. Similarly, when your supply chain is vulnerable, there are more chances that your supply chain may disrupt because of some unexpected events. So that vulnerability is very important. Okay, so when you in failure mode and effect analysis, you study your whole supply chain from supplier end to the customer end. You try to identify the failure mode in each stage of your supply chain. Then you analyze those failure modes, unexpected events. Suppose failure mode you find in at a manufacturer level because of machine breakdown, something, that is your failure mode, that your machine may fail tomorrow, break down tomorrow, that is your failure mode. Okay, so on our supplier side, one of your supplier may stop supplying you the products. So this is the failure mode you identified from your supplier side. Now next stage is to analyze that one. So in simple approach, what we do, we consider the probability, we consider the impact, we multiply them, you get the risk score. On that basis you find out the ranking. But in FEMA there is a third important number. Does anybody know that third important number? Probability number is there, impact number is there, third important number is there. Any idea? Severity we are already considering. Impact means severity. Probability is there, likelihood is there. What is that third number? How fast you can detect that unexpected event. Detection, probability, impact and detection, these are the three numbers. When you multiply these three numbers, you get one number, one score. That, what do we call it as? RPN. What is it? RPN, risk priority number. And on the basis of that risk priority number, then you rank the risks. What is the importance of detection? Because sometimes in some companies or in some supply chains, it is important for them as well to how fast you can detect that that unexpected event. When you do the early detection, what could happen? you can take some proactive measures to deal with that one. Suppose your detection is late, you may face some unexpected consequences because of that detection. That's why that detection plays an important role. So when you multiply those three numbers, probability number, impact number and detection number, you get the risk priority number. Then you find out the risk priority number for all risky events, and then on the basis of that, whoever got the highest RPN number, you rank that as a first risk, then you do the the rest of the events. So that's your failure mode and effect analysis. Okay, basic approach, probability and impact number, then failure mode and effect analysis, and the third approach is simulation. You could do the risk analysis using simulation. I will teach you that in simulation how you can analyze these risky events. Basically what you do, you model the supply chain network, run the model without any disruption, without any risky events, find out the KPIs. Without any disruption, your profit is 1 million. Okay, your profit is 1 million. Then add the disruption events, add the event, fire is there, flooding is there, tsunami is there, something is there, supply shortages, or add those events, then run your model and see what is the impact on your profit, cost, all the supply chain performance. So then suppose there are three events: fire, flooding, tsunami. Fire reduced your profit by 10%, flooding reduced profit by 20%, tsunami 30%, and then based on that the impact, you rank which risk is the most significant for your supply chain and which is not the significant one. So that is the simulation way of analyzing the risk. Okay, so but sometimes basically the researchers, they go with this probability and impact basic one, and then they do some interviews with the experts, and then they get some information about those events. In simulation as well, you need to define the probability of occurrence of that event. Okay, that you need to define, and when you define that one, then when you analyze that model, then you get the impact. So now next, third stage of risk management, what is it? Risk mitigation, alternative response. Risk identified, done, you analyze the risk. Suppose top risk is say supplier shortages, machine breakdown is there, something is there. Now you need to propose some mitigation strategies to deal with those risks. So what factors do you consider normally? Do you think that for each risk there is only one option available? What do you think? Or could you generate multiple options to manage that one risk? Multiple options we can generate. For example, supplier shortage is there, you can ask your existing supplier to supply the additional products. You could go with the alternative supplier, that is the one backup supplier. So what are the some alternative responses available? Tell me, what are the some alternative responses available to manage the risk? Any example? Yeah, what kind of risk? But I am saying that any risks, whatever, supplier shortages, demand risk, whatever, what kind of mitigation plan you can propose? Why do you go with the third party logistics and fourth party logistics provider? What is the reason? Suppose you are a OEM, automotive manufacturer. Why do you go with the third party logistics provider? What is the reason? Why can't you manage your own logistics? Yeah, so that you can focus on your own expertise. Okay. Then third party logistics provider, fourth party logistics provider. If something happens, who is responsible for that one? If suppose while moving something happened, accident, breakdown, something, you lost your products there, who is responsible for that? Third party logistics provider. So when you go with the third party logistics provider, what you are doing basically? Transferring the risk to where? To other party. So that is one way of managing the risk. You don't want to take the risk, you are transferring the risk to the other members. That's the one. Another, do you take the insurance? Health insurance, medical insurance, travel insurance. What is the purpose of insurance? To recover. What else? Accidents. Suppose somebody has an accident, who will pay for the damages? Do you pay or somebody else will pay? Insurance company. Insurance. What do you do there then basically? You transfer your risk from your side to insurance company, and for that you pay the premium, whatever the. So that's the another way of managing the risk. What else? Transfer, insurance, what else? Easiest option is accept the risk and don't do anything. Whatever it may be, accept the risk and don't do it. What else? Suppose you are working in in a company, and that company is outsourcing majority of the production to the outsiders. What would you do as an employee? Suppose you are working in a company, that company is outsourcing. Do you know outsourcing? Okay. Suppose you are working in a company, that company is outsourcing 70% of that whatever the production to the somebody else. What would you do as an employee? What would be the impact on your job? You may lose your job. Why? Because your jobs they are going with the outsiders, outsourcing. Then what would you do? You do the strike, oppose the change. That is the one response. Something is happening, you are opposing. This is happening. Suppose government today says that there will be tariff on your income or something. You do the the protest strike against that event. So that is one action. What else? Hmm? Tell me. Ignore or accept the risks. When do you ignore or accept the risks? When you don't have any options. Okay. When you don't have any options, then you ignore or accept the risk. If that event, risky event, you know that if that event is going to happen and it will severely affect your supply chain, what do? Still you accept that event? Yes. So when impact is small, you know that suppose there is a delivery shortages is there, and delivery supplier told you that only 30 minutes delivery is delay. Suppose that you have got a the deterministic demand and everything. So you know that 30 minutes is not a significant for your business. For some businesses it might be different, but for your business it doesn't affect significantly. Okay. So impact is small, then you accept that risk. Another one is, I told one example. Suppose you are facing from your supplier a problem from your supplier, and because of that supplier shortages you may incur the £1,000 loss, and when you go with your alternative supplier, that will cost you £1,500. So what do? You incur that loss, you accept £1,000 is better than your £1,500. Okay. So you accept that risky event and don't do anything. So again, impact, the cost of making the changes. If the cost of making the changes is higher than the loss, there is no point of making any changes. Just remain as it is and then accept that risky event. But there is a problem with this response strategy as well. What is that problem? Tell me. There is a problem as well. What is that? Associate cost, we already talked about that. What else? Suppose you accepted that risk, and as per your knowledge, experience, you thought that this is a minor event. Okay, this is a minor event. Like in case of Philips and Nokia, Philips initially thought that they would recover from only 1 or 2 weeks. Only 10 minutes fire was there. Initially they thought that okay, we would very fast recover from that event. But after that, they took almost 6 months to recover from that, and whole supply chain was affected. So it depends on your analysis. If you think that suppose that event is major event and you consider it as a minor event, okay, whatever the analysis you did, probability, impact, and you consider it as a minor event, and when that event actually occurred, it may severely damage your organization, your supply chain performance. So that's the problem, again, ignoring or accepting the risk. That's why your risk analysis should be correct. Whatever the risk analysis you are doing, if it is not correct, there is a problem. You may accept some significant risky events that will affect your supply chain. Opposite change, I already told you, something is not going. If some government is imposing the tariff, something, and it is affecting as a consumers, as a supplier, they protest. Suppose now I will give the example in the UK. Okay, so UK government initially suggested that by 2030 there will be no sale of petrol and diesel cars. They wanted to go with the electric cars and all those things. Everything was going smooth, and suddenly now they changed the plan from 2030 to 2035. And then manufacturers were saying that we were ready for the 2030 and suddenly you changed to the 2035. It is affecting our whatever the plan, big investment we have done here. So those kind of, then during that time they will do the protest strike, oppose the whatever the change you have done. Transfer, share or deflect the risk. Insurance, you transfer the risk from you to the another, or you share the risk or deflect. What do you think that when you transfer the risk, do you reduce the risk? Do you eliminate the risk? No. What happens then? Yeah, so that's correct. So basically when you transfer or share the risk, you don't eliminate or reduce the risk. You are just sharing, you are asking somebody else to manage that one. So it may go up as well. You may face significant losses because of that one, but the risk will not go. Move to another environment. What is this move to another environment? Any example? Move to another. Okay. From one country to another, you are saying relocating the, repositioning your facilities. What else? Anything? Can you guess anything? Move to another environment. If you are running your business in one sector, suppose you are a producer or supplier of chemical, and you are incurring the significant losses into that one. So instead of doing that chemical supplier, you come from that sector, you start supplying something else. You don't need to change your locations, all of this, but just you try to change your business model. Initially you are supplier of only chemical one and you are incurring losses there. Now you cannot go with those losses. Then you go, you remain into that sector, but you supply some additional products, different products. So move to another environment where you may not face those losses. Adapt to it. What is it? Adopt it. Sorry, go on. Yeah, that's good. Yes. So when you realize that that event is gonna happen definitely, and you can't oppose it, you can't transfer the risk, so you have to accept that risk and you want to make the changes in your supply chain, so that you can go ahead with this whatever the changes or unexpected events are happening. Reduce the probability of the risks. Okay, so these are the mitigation plan basically. Whatever, how, tell me, how can you reduce the probability of this risky event? How can you reduce the probability of the risky event? Suppose you have a supplier shortage is your problem and you know that you may face this problem in the future. How could you reduce the probability? By adopting some alternatives. Okay. By taking more precaution. You, yeah, these are the options. So you engage with that supplier, see what's the problem they are facing, whether they are facing any financial problem, what's happening at their level. Sometimes these big players in your supply chain, they need to support their suppliers. Okay, so they may do some advance payments like what Land Rover and all those they did. Sometimes they need to engage with those tier 2 supplier, tier 3 supplier, because sometimes when you face the problem from tier 1 supplier, they might have some problem from their own suppliers. You need to understand the whole supply chain, where the problem is coming. So you need to keep some additional inventory, safety stock, backup suppliers, all those things. So that through those ways we try to reduce the probability. Reduce or limit the consequences. Again, safety stock, inventory, additional inventory, these are the ways to reduce the impact of your uncertain events. Make contingency plan. Despite all those events, suppose you face the problem, you have that event, then you should have the backup plan so that you can reduce the impact of those events. What is the difference between this second and third one? Last and second last. Reduce or limit the consequences and make contingency plan. Yes. So in the second last, we also try to reduce the impact, but when? Before the occurrence of the event, and here after the occurrence. So contingency plan is activated only after the occurrence of your disruption. If your disruption is not happen, the contingency plan will not be useful. Now tell me, suppose you are crossing a busy road Okay, and you can identify the main risk. The main risk is you may hit by a car. Now you can analyze the risk and design the appropriate responses. You are closing your eyes and walking across the road. What kind of response is this one? In the previous slide, we discussed couple of options. Closing your eyes and walking across means accepting the risk. Okay. Moving to a quieter part of the road or crossing at a quiet time. What kind of response? Moving to a quieter part of the road or crossing at a quiet time. Precautions. Okay. So do you means reducing the impact? Precautions what? There was no option for precaution. Contingency plan. Okay. Move to a quieter part of the road or crossing at a quiet time. So you are saying this is a contingency plan. What? So you are reducing the probability of risk. Okay. Let's see next. Wearing protective clothing. What? Moving to a quieter part of the road or crossing at a quiet time. There is no risk involved. There is a risk involved. You may hit by a car. That is a risk. These are the responses, mitigation strategies we are talking about. Risk is you may hit by a car. That's the risk. So we are talking about categorizing the responses that we discussed in the previous slide. Wearing protective clothing. What? What do you do? What is the purpose of wearing protective clothing? What? Sorry? How come this is wearing protective clothing? What in working in a factory? Why do wear the helmet? Why do wear the helmet? Safety. What? To reduce the impact. And how come this is accepting the risk? Wearing protective clothing means you are trying to reduce the impact of that accident. Getting someone else to cross the road for you. Getting someone, you ask, suppose Venkat want to cross, he asks his friend, can you cross for me? I will stay here. Uh, uh, uh? Third party logistics. But what kind of response is this one? Transferring the risk to your friend. So your friend will sacrifice for you. Do you really do this? Phoning an ambulance to be ready in case you are hit. Already. Call the ambulance and ask him be ready. If something is going to happen, then what kind of response is this one? Sorry? Contingency. What do you think? Contingency? Phoning an ambulance to be ready in case you are hit. Okay, so you are saying it is a contingency. Let's see next time. Accepting that you would ordinarily be hit, so B become more agile to avoid the cars. What is it? Adopt it. Okay. Campaigning to prohibit traffic from using that road. Opposite. Okay. You don't need to cross the road. Somebody called you, don't cross the road. I am waiting here. What is it? How come it is ignoring? You don't need to cross the road. I gave one example as well. What example I gave? You don't need to cross the road. Yeah. Yeah, but what in the response categorization, which response is similar to this one? It completely fits here. You don't need to cross. We talked about ignoring, accepting the risk, adapt to it, reducing the probability, reducing the impact, transferring, sharing, then contingency plan. What else? You don't need to cross the road. Any guess? Any idea? Let's see the answer. First one is closing your eyes and walking across the road. Ignore the risk. Okay, ignore the risk and blindly cross the road. moving to a quieter part of the road or crossing at a quiet time. What is it? What is it? Reduce the probability of being a hit. Why you are moving to that quieter part? The chances of getting hit will be reduced there. Wearing protective clothing. Reduce the consequences or impact. Getting someone else to cross your road, your friend. Transfer the risk. Phoning an ambulance. Drop and contingency plan. Okay, backup plan. Something happened, ambulance is ready. Accepting that you would ordinarily be hit, so become more agile to avoid the cars. Adapt to it. Campaigning. Oppose. And what is, you don't need to cross the road? Only one left. What is that? Somebody said at that from the last bench. Yeah, that's the one. Move to another environment. You don't need to cross the road. There is a problem. There was a risk. You move to another environment because you don't need to cross the road. You may not face the losses there. So I told you, suppose you are running a business in one sector, you are incurring the losses, you are coming out of that sector and you are setting up a new business or a new model. So that's your move to another environment. So these are the responses available to manage the risk. So based on the product features of the supply chain, you can select these responses. You can either reduce the consequences, you can reduce the impact probability, you can ignore it, you can transfer the risk, or you can prepare the contingency plan as well. Then what is supply chain resilience? How fast you can recover from that unexpected event. Okay, so what could you do then? You want to recover from that event? Tell me. Whatever the event is, don't worry about that. Supplier shortages, delivery problem, logistics, earthquake, flooding. Tell me, how could you what could you do to recover from that strategy, from that event? Proactive measures. Okay, additional safety stock, backup supplier. What else? So there are a couple of strategies we could use to deal with these unexpected events. Okay, so what are those events? Basically, you can see the profile of the events when it happens here. So you can see preparation. This is the preparation stage. Okay, and this is the point where your event occurs. So and this is your performance. Okay, so you can say this is your original position. When unexpected event occurs, what is happening? Your performance is decreasing, and then you can say this is a response time, this is a recovery time, and then business as usual. Okay, so when you, how fast you can come back to this original position, that is your basically the resilience. It measures the resilience. Okay, suppose if you take a lot of time to come back to this original position, then your supply chain is not resilient. And on x-axis we have the time when the event occurs, time when the response started. So when initially you can see here the occurrence of event, what is your first approach, guys, when the something unexpected happen? What would you do first? Response, recovery, business as usual. What is your first response? What would you do? Suppose there is a fire, there is accident, what is your first response? How much loss is actually happened? So suppose there is a machine breakdown happen, or vehicle accident, something like, do you immediately start thinking about loss? Do you immediately, what do you do then? How do you? Yes, so basically you try to control that situation. First response is you try to control that situations to avoid the further losses. Suppose there are some machine breakdown or accidents happen in the factory, you try to save the people's lives there. Okay, that's your first response, to control the situations, to make sure that this will not significantly, or there are no further losses. You don't start looking up to your losses and all those things. First thing is you control the situation, you control that event, and then after that, this is your first response, to control the situations, to save the lives. Then recovery, then you start thinking about how we can come back or how we can recover from that event. So this is your recovery stage or time. Then during this time you use additional supplier, you do the overproduction, all those things, and then you come back to your original position. And when you reach to that point, and then from there your business as usual starts. So this is a whole profile of your disruption. So what are the some of the strategies available to recover from that event? First one is the visibility. Increasing the visibility reduces the risk. How come? Tell me how visibility reduces the risk. Tell me. Yeah, we can do the preventive maintenances. Yeah, what else? You can take some proactive action. Suppose in Nokia and Ericsson case, that if Philips would have told the Nokia or the Ericsson in advance, they might have gone to the additional suppliers, they might have did something to deal with those events. So visibility, increasing visibility, what does it mean? Visibility means all the members, they should again share this timely and accurate information with the other members of the supply chain. If I suppose I am a manufacturer, and if suppose there is a problem from my suppliers, if I get that information, I can use my backup plan, backup supplier, additional suppliers. Similarly, if retailer gets the information from the supply side, from demand side, they can make the data driven decisions, informed decisions based on the available information. So visibility means it's not like that. Suppose I am manufacturer, I should only get the information from my immediate customer and immediate. It's not like that, because what happened, there is a whole network. If one of the members is affected in that network, everybody will be affected and the whole supply chain will be affected. That's why each and every member of the supply chain, irrespective whether it is a tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 customers, they need to share the information, and that's through that information then this visibility will be improved. Okay. So and then in order to improve that visibility, we need these IoT devices. We cannot ask them and call, can you send me the Excel files of the whatever that available orders or the sales stocks. Okay, basically these IoT devices, this will help to improve your visibility. It will automatically very fast transfer the information from one end to another end. Collaboration, manage risk effectively and improve supply chain benefits. What is collaboration? Working with all the members in your supply chain. If one member is thinking about only suppose I am a manufacturer and I am thinking about only my risk, and I am not thinking about distributor, retailers, suppliers, how could it become the the whole your supply chain network? Okay, collaboration means all members of supply chain, they need to collaboratively work together to manage these unexpected event, risky events. Without that collaboration, if everybody works in isolation, if everybody is not sharing the timely and accurate information, then your supply chain network supply chain risk management will not work. Flexibility, quick and efficient response from manufacturer for dynamic changes. What is flexibility? Any idea? Quick and efficient response from manufacturer for dynamic changes. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, so basically whenever you experience some sudden demand changes, dynamic demand changes from the customers, your production capacity should be flexible enough to accommodate, to allow those changes. Okay, for example, I give you before 1919, I think Toyota had a plants across the world, and now as well. There are some Asian plants, they were dedicated to supply the local market, and some western countries plant, they were again supplying some other countries. So one plant was responsible to supply only to the nearest customers or the nearest the market. So when they experienced the recession, okay, so they couldn't use the supply or the production from the other plants to manage the demand from in the other area. So basically what is the benefit of flexibility? Suppose your plant is supplying the products to different markets. So if there is no demand in one market, you can target the other market. Suppose and you are targeting only one market, if there is a problem in that market, you may incur the losses. So that's why flexibility means you should have that flexibility to accommodate these dynamic changes from the customer end. Agility, what is agility? more rapid response to change the condition and one of the powerful ways to achieve supply chain resilience. So flexibility means you are making the changes in your supply chain network to accommodate the dynamic changes from customer. But how long does it take to make those changes in your supply chain network? That defines your agility. When you say that your supply chain is agile, it means that you are taking very short time to make the changes in your supply chain. If you are taking long time to make the changes in your supply chain, it means your supply chain is not agile. That's the meaning of agility. Redundancy. What is redundancy? Keeping some resources in reserve to be used in case of disruption. Safety stock. Best example is redundancy example is safety stock. What is the purpose of safety stock? In unforeseen conditions or unforeseen events, you use the safety stock. So suppose you have got two options, flexibility and redundancy. In which option, in which strategy would you like to invest? Flexibility or redundancy? In which strategy and why? Why flexibility? Hmm. 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 Speed and flexibility, okay. But there is a problem with the redundancy. There is one problem with the redundancy compared with the flexibility. What? Inventory cost. But basically, keeping some resources in reserve. Reserve means you are not using those resources during regular time, during normal time. Okay. But in flexibility, whatever the investment you are going to do there, you can use during the normal time and you can use during the disruption time. So that's the benefit. That's why some companies they prepare the flexibility compared with the redundancy approach. Okay, so this is a case study. Now open your laptop and we'll do this modeling in the any logistics. Yesterday some students they said that it was very fast, so we will do slowly one by one. Smartphone supply chain, again because of Nokia and Ericsson case. So WSC is a supply chain for smartphone production and distribution. The smartphone assembly process that takes place at the Chinese factory. The factory is located in China that requires one display and two chips. Components, factory is in China, one display and two semiconductor chips. The Chinese supplier delivers their display by truck. Chinese supplier delivers displays by truck, and there is a Taiwanese supplier that delivers their chips by ferry. Ferry means water mode of transportation. The factory delivers the smartphones by air to the distribution center in the US. Two suppliers, one is in China, one is in Taiwan. Factory is in China and then distribution center in US. So by air the distribution center in the US, from there the distribution center ships them by air to the customers. The factory and distribution center are running minimax inventory control policy at 1% interest rate. We need to analyze two demand scenarios, positive and negative. What is this positive and negative market? What happens? Your demand goes up, positive scenario. What happens? Your demand goes down, negative. We are going to analyze the production strategies, distribution, sourcing and transportation, and what other inventory control policies do you know. Okay? So the data, okay, this is an example basically. The two supplier, Chinese supplier that supplies the display through road transportation, Taiwanese supplier supplies the chips through ferry, water mode of transportation. Then we have got the distribution center in US, and we have got 5 customers. These are not the individual customers, these are the retailers basically. Customer South America, customer US, customer South Africa, customer Europe, and customer India. Okay, so these are the locations. So Venkat, I think you have shared yesterday's slides, am I right? So in yesterday's slides this case study is there. So look at that latitude and longitude of each customer, the factory, the supplier, and start building the model in the any logistics. Look at the yesterday's slides and you find the input data. So look at here now. I am building it. Okay. Okay, so I am saying create scenario. Let me see what is happening again here. There is some problem. Do we need the bill of material here, guys? Do you need the bill of material? Do you need the production details here? Why? Because we are making the production in the factory. That's why we need the bill of material. What does it say, bill of material? How many products, components you need to make that cell phone? How many chips do you need? We need 2 semiconductor chips, and we need 1 display to make that cell phone. There are some other components as well, but for simplicity we are considering only the display and semiconductor chips. So you have got already these details about the latitude and longitude. So start building the locations. Customers, 5 customers are there, am I right? 5 customers, 1 DC, 1 factory, 2 suppliers. How many total locations? How many? 5 plus 1 DC, 1 factory, 7, and 7 plus 2, 9. I am saying WSC supply chain. WSC is the name of that company. WSC simulation. Okay, I am saying simulation create. Okay, so this is created in the simulation. Make sure that sometimes, yeah, I think yesterday one student was asking why I can't run the simulation here in the greenfield analysis, because he was in the greenfield analysis and he was looking the simulation here. No, we are doing the simulation, so you should create the that scenario into the simulation. Okay, so this is my simulation WHC supply chain. This is the one I am talking about. Okay, so now let me close this one. Okay, so you can randomly, where is customer, you can do one thing, you can place somewhere here, then you can change the locations. Okay, 5, and then you need 1 DC, you need 1 factory. I am randomly placing, and then I am updating the coordinates. 2 supplier. Okay, so I am saying China supplier, China supplier, Taiwan supplier. Tell me the coordinates for China supplier. 3150. Okay, this is the latitude, and then longitude is 120.58. Done. China supplier done. Then Taiwanese supplier 2468. 120.93. Factory, I am saying this is a DC, DC, and factory. Then customers, I am renaming it. So Brazil in South America, Brazil. Then you have got South Africa, are you doing it, guys? I'm gonna see everybody's model. Italy, then India, and then US, and then USA. So latitude, Brazil. What are the coordinates of South Africa? South Africa minus 3313. Brazil, South Africa done. Italy 42.29, then 11.95. Italy is done. Then India 19.47, and then 72.94. India is done. USA 40.84 minus 73.65. Have you created the all the members? Supplier, DC, factories. What is the factory? 23 point. Where is the factory located? Yes, 112.85. Where is factory located? In China, US, where? In China. Okay. Aman, is it a global network or local network? Yes, yesterday you wanted to analyze the global network. Now do it. Are you following it? Are you creating the model? Why don't you have the laptop? Okay. So these are the networks. Look at here, USA customer, Brazil, South Africa, Italy, India. Where is it in India? Mumbai. Okay. Then we have got the two supplier, Chinese supplier, Taiwanese supplier. Why Taiwanese supplier is using ferry? Because there is no land transportation, no route. That's why it is using the ferry to transfer the chips from the Taiwanese supplier to factory. And where is DC located? US. Not US. Something is wrong. DC. I think I haven't updated the DC's location. DC location. Yes, I haven't updated it. That's correct. That's why it is showing. GC. Sorry. Okay. So where is DC? My okay. DC is this one. DC means 38.95 minus 123.047. Okay, now it should come into the US. Yes, can you see the DC? It is near to the San Francisco. Yes, near to the San Francisco. Okay. Then now start defining the parameters in the bottom left corner. Basic stuff, demand. What is the demand? Baseline scenario. Periodic demand is there. Product. Before that, define the product. Go to the product table. First one is, tell me what is my product. How many products are there? Smartphone is there. Smartphone, display and chip. Okay. Smartphone I have added display, then chip. Okay. What is the unit? Pieces. Okay. What is the price of smartphone? 600. And selling cost? 200. What about the display? What is the selling price? Why 0? Selling cost is 10 and 5. Am I right? Cost is 10 and 5. Tell me why selling price is 0? Why selling price? There is something wrong. Am I right? There is something wrong in that table. What is it? Yeah, that's the one. Got it, guys? Why there is no selling price for chip and display? Because that is not our finished product. That is not our finished product. We are using this component to make the smartphone, and smartphone is our final product, finished product, and that's why the selling price, we are selling the smartphone, we are not selling the display. So that's why cost is there to make those components, but there is no selling price. Products done. Then we can add the vehicles as well. In the vehicle types, tell me how many vehicles do you need? What kind of vehicles do you need? Airplane, truck and ferry. So what is the capacity of airplane? 40 meter cubic. What is the speed? 800 kilometer or miles? Kilometer. Okay. Then second vehicle type, truck. From where to where we are using truck? From where to where? Capacity in it should be meter cubic, so there is something wrong. Okay, so meter cubic, and then speed is 50. Ferry, from Chinese supplier to the Chinese factory we are using the truck. Ferry, from Taiwanese supplier to the what? So vehicles are done. So now come back to our basic table. Demand. Okay, demand is, so what is the demand of Brazil? Do I need to select the chip and display here? No, we are selling the smartphone. So periodic demand type, pattern. What is the order interval level for baseline scenario? Order interval is common or is it different? Tell me. Order interval is common. It's same for all the customers, only quantity is getting changed. So periodic demand I am saying, and then so this is my first customer. What is that customer? Brazil. So for Brazil, first day of occurrence I am saying, order interval is 10 days and the quantity is 21. Save. Second is my customer is South Africa. Order interval is 10 days, and then quantity is 9. Then second is sorry, no, there is some problem. South Africa 10 and 6, 10 and 6, right? Okay, 10 and 6 South Africa done. Italy 10 and 6 again, 10 6. And then next is your Indian US. What is India? 10 18, 10 18. Then last is I think US is 10 21. Brazil, I did the mistake. Brazil is 10 9. 10, and then US it is 21. Okay, have you done this demand table? First occurrence is done. USD currency expected lead time is 30 days, time unit day, minimum split ratio is 1. Let me check the back order policy is not allowed. There is no back order policy, so stop it. Not allowed back order policy. Demand is done. What about the inventory? Where we are keeping the inventory? Where we are keeping the inventory? First is the factory. Do you keep the inventory there? Yes. What is the unit for smartphone? Factory, chip and display. So let me see the unit now. Factory sourcing policy, inventory. Okay, so for factory smartphone inventory policy is minimax policy, and then 30 60. The minimum level is 30, maximum is 60. 30, sorry, 60. Initial stock 40. And then what is the cheap and displays stock? Unlimited inventory, am I right? Factory unlimited. Then this is done, okay. Then we need to add one more site here. Which is that site? DC. We are keeping the what? DC. What do you keep? Cheap display or smartphone? Smartphone. We keep the smartphone. Then minimax policy. What is the parameter? 2050. 2050. Okay. And then stock is 40. Done. Have you ask me? If you have any doubts, please ask me. Means transportation cost. Paths mean transportation cost. TC. What? Yes. What do you keep? Do you keep smartphone, chip or display? display. At manufacturing plant we are using chip and display to make that smartphone. Once finished product is ready, retailer. Okay, so DC smartphone is there. Then paths we need 4 rows. First is from the supplier, Chinese supplier. China supplier. Next is the Taiwanese supplier. From Taiwan supplier to factory, cost is distance based. Distance based cost. Then again distance based cost. That what is cost? 0.5 and 0.8. Variable cost is 0.5 and then this is 0.8. Chinese supplier and Taiwanese supplier, why the cost is different? Is using the road freight, and Taiwanese supplier it is using ferry, water mode. That's why. Then if we don't transportation time down, what is the straight route? For road we don't use the straight route. Vehicle type, first one is we are using the truck. Next one, what is the next? Then factory, and this is the. Why didn't I group here, guys? Why didn't I create any groups here? Because there are no multiple distribution center, there are no multiple uh, uh, what do multiple suppliers, but you cannot, there is no use of grouping here. Why? If you group those, because different mode of transportation is usually. So factory location to DC location, what is the cost? I think this is fixed. Product distance based, and then this is 0.01. And then from DC to, you can select all customers here. And now basically make one group, because I can't see the customers there. I am creating that group here, all customers, and then I am selecting the all 5 customers that I want. Okay, so I group those customers. Now I am again going back to my basic table paths. I am saying all customer. What is the route? Product and distance based. Product 01. Time is 2 days here. Why do you need 2 days? It is given basically. Transportation time from factory. And what about this straight, guys? Do I need to activate here straight? Where I am saying last second. For last seconds, that's why these straight buttons, these 2 buttons will be activated here. Did you get the purpose? Means whether it is taking the straight routes or actual road routes. Vehicle type done. Name. Next is periods. Do we need to change anything here? No. Products. Products we already. We need to define the shipping here. Okay. So what are those? Basically 4 rows we need. You can say all suppliers, or you can say Chinese supplier. Chinese supplier to destination. Where is the destination? Important thing. First untick this one and then only select the factory. In shipping table, this is the problem. Inbuilt or product. What does Chinese supplier supply? Chip or display? Chip. Less than truckload policy. Am I right? Or is it full truckload? I don't know. Check it. Partial delivery. First in, first out. Start time, end time. Then next is the your Taiwanese supply. Untick all customers and send the factory. Products display. Ferry. Shall I slow down or are you following me? Do it, take your time. Don't worry, I have to go there as well. I am also coming there. Okay, don't worry. Anybody? Okay, just give me 10 minutes. We'll sort out with in before 5-10 minutes. Okay. Not going. Shall I move forward? Then so no, shipping is left. So factory destination, from factory to where? TC. Product less than truckload, then same. Then from DC to all customers. Okay. And then smartphone, then aeroplane less than truckload, done. Shipping is done. Now sourcing. Okay, sourcing I am saying delivery first is supplier display, then the factory, and then cheap. And type of sourcing is closed fixed source. We have got only one source, and delivery destination is DC and source is factory. Product factories, and then all customers, and from DC it will go. Initial 4 columns you define, rest of the 3 columns you don't need to make any changes. Vehicle types we have already done. Left anything else? Shall I, did I miss anything? Last row of sourcing you want to see it. Okay, from DC source we have got only one DC, that's why we are selecting closest and fixed source. Shall I check it? I don't know what will happen. Valid. Okay, it's still valid. What is that? Did we add the bill of material and the production? The bill of material and add the bill of material. Bill of material, end product is smartphone. Quantity, how you are using and what you are using. Oh, nothing is there. What happened? Where are our display? Basically you need how many chips? 2 chips, am I right? And you need one display. If you have any byproduct, suppose if you are modeling the any wheat supply chain or something, so those kind of, if byproduct is there, you can add the byproduct. But currently we don't have any byproducts. Byproduct material and components, we don't have any byproducts. Then CO2 burn from facilities, we don't have CO2. Factories done. Okay, demand done. Events, facility expenses, fleets, groups, inventory. Then we need to define the production, how much is smartphone. We are following the simple make policy. And what is the unit here they are using? 0.01 day. .01 day. Okay, and then bill of material is bill of material bomb, and then production cost is 50 USD. CO2. Let me say, can you see this network connection? Supplier, factory, DC, all customers. If you define everything properly, you should see this one. You should not get this connection. Okay, so let's start the simulation now. Yes, it's valid simulation. So we are running it for all periods, random seed USD meter cube. There is error. Okay. Oh, meter to so pieces to meter we haven't done conversion. What is that unit conversion? You didn't tell me, guys. Smartphone 0010. Smartphone, I am saying smartphone 1 unit 2 1 done. Then this is 0.005 1 done. Okay, and then this is the display now valid. Okay, run it. You can see how the products are moving. Can you see? This is the bar. You can expedite it. What is the profit? 791 791,080. Average cost per item, then total cost. If you want to see profit and loss, this is profit and loss. Production cost, then transportation cost, revenue, and the profit. Done. You can then variation experiment. Okay, so if you go to this variation experiment, then all periods use replication. I am saying, okay, I don't want replication. Add variable parameter. I am saying add variable parameter. What you want to vary? I want to vary the demand. Okay, suppose I want to vary the demand or location paths. Demand object. Okay, so demand of what? Demand, I want to change the demand of one customer. Brazil, tell me the demand, existing demand of Brazil. What is the existing? 21. What is the demand of Brazil? What is it? 9. So here I am saying I want to change the quantity, and then variation, number range. So I am saying that 9 is there. I want to see what happen if the range of that Brazil demand, it goes from say 2 to 9 or 2 to 15, something like that. So I am saying minimum it should start from 3, maximum I would say 25, and the step, what change you want, what step between that range. So I am saying, okay, so let me see, 4 and step is 3. Okay, let me add it. Done. Demand, we have rest of the things remain common, and let's see what happens. Can you see this table? Quantity 3, when quantity 3 is there, what is the minimum? We are using replication, minimum, max, and mean, standard deviation. So you can see this is the total cost. What is the total cost when quantity is 6? When the quantity of Brazil is 6, quantity 9, quantity 12, quantity 15, 18, 21, 24. So this way you don't need to make the changes in the original model. You can change the variables parameters here, and you can get the solution here. So you can change any parameter. You could change the interval, you can change the quantity, you can change supply, whatever the parameters you have defined, you can change here, and then you can play that basically model. So the in the that our case study, so this was the baseline scenario. Okay, and these are the basically the results of that baseline scenario. You can see profit was 849. Am I right? We got the same profit, or was it different? What was the profit hour? Statistics 860, not, where is it? 791. Okay, so we need to change the double, the exact again, the if there is any problem in the distance or locations, that might be this difference. So 849, revenue is 928,000, total cost, transportation cost, service level 100%, lead time is 8. Financial performance, and then baseline performance, customer related, maximum capacity, maximum inventory, current backlog orders, customer delayed orders, and all those things. Are there any back orders? No. Why there are no back orders? We did not allow the back order policy, that's why. Now this is the optimistic scenario. Okay, so that was the baseline scenario. The team, the supply chain manager, they did some analysis, and what they found, they wanted to do the optimistic and pessimistic scenario, positive and negative. So this is the table for the your positive market. So here you can see the interval is same, 10 days, only the quantity we have changed. So what do you need to do now into the, you need to make the second copy of that simulation experiment. You need to go to the demand table, you need to update the quantity, lead time remains same, and rest of the parameters will remain same, and run the model then. Okay, then we'll see what is the positive market. Then this is the negative market, pessimistic scenario. What happens when demand is down? So your quantities, you can say 7, 3, 2, 1, interval is same, lead time is same, only quantity, the demand reduced here. and this is the comparison. So baseline 78, profit is 849, pessimistic you can say 405. Why this down? Because our demand is down. Optimistic more than 1 million, profit is increased. Why? Because of the demand. Total cost, transportation cost you can see, service level is 100%. Lead time in optimistic scenario is 4 days. What do you think? What is the reason behind that? Demand increased, we haven't changed anything, but why the lead time has reduced? Any idea? Any idea? What was the our transportation policy? When you get the more demand, what do you mean? It will become full truckload. That's why your lead time get reduced. Got it? And then operational performance you can say, customer in time orders, products produced, all those things. Now the team decided that they wanted to go ahead with the positive market scenario. Okay, but in order to reduce the lead time and do the further analysis, they have got two options. What are those two options? They can either open the new distribution center with the minimax policy 120, that will cost them 10,000 USD. Sorry, yes, they increase the distribution center capacity, that will cost them 10,000, or they can open the new distribution center in China and they follow the dual sourcing, so that will cost them 50,000. Initially they have got only one DC located in US, but they have got two options now to satisfy that additional demand, positive market. They can increase the capacity of the existing distribution center, or they can open the new distribution center in China. Okay, so we will discuss these sourcing policies in tomorrow's session. Okay, I will upload these slides, Excel files of this today's session and yesterday's session. Okay, I will share with you. Enjoy, enjoy.